the head hurts as if it is about to crack. This is Lin Chen's first feeling after he recovers his consciousness. He remembered that he was on the stage of the Sky Chief Global Championship, holding the mouse's right hand was hiding the familiar sourness and numbness due to the long-term operation. The game is entering a white heat, and the opponent's core output is only the last bloody skin, as long as he continues to operate this. Wait, why is there a shiny look in front of you? The dazzling sunlight made him feel uncomfortable. His ears were not the excitement of teammates and the audience's screams like mountains and seas, but the birds' screams? There were also some vague voices that sounded far away, like a layer of water across. Lin Chen opened his eyes vigorously, and then he was stunned. What caught my eye was not his electric room filled with noodles boxes and energy drink tanks, nor the dazzling lights and huge screens in the competition hall. This is a blue sky, with several white clouds like marshmallows flying slowly. He moved his neck and moved his eyes down. He saw rows of antique wooden houses with thatch on the roof, and a pointed carriage far away, moving slowly with a slight wind. The air was filled with a fresh smell of grass and soil, which really made people's skin numb. He looked down at himself. I was wearing not a team uniform, but a rough short top made of linen. The pants were of the same material, with a pair of old straw sandals on my feet. His hands, these two hands were clean, but their fingers were clear and they felt a little unfamiliar, unlike his hands that were slightly distorted by long-term knocking on the keyboard. What a fool! Lin Chen murmured and tried to stand up from the ground. Just as he had this thought, his body seemed to be held in place by an invisible force, completely unable to move. He could only stand stiffly, like a wooden pavilion. At the same time, a cold mechanical sound without any emotion echoed directly in his brain. NPC, Lin Chen, background character. Level 1. Responsibility, leading novice players and issuing the initial mission clear slime. Status, not move, not actively attack, not deviate from pre-designed scripts. Warning, there is an abnormality in your data. If the character template cannot be evolved into a mainline character within the 7 natural days, the system will be cleared as invalid data. Remaining time, 6 days, 23 hours, 59 minutes, 58 seconds. A series of messages brushed his brain like a waterfall, and finally formed a red inverter, floating in the upper right corner of his vision, ticking. Lin Chen was completely confused. NPC? Background character? Clear slime? Isn't this the tool guy in The Legend of the World, the most unpresented and the first thing every player does when he goes online is to ask him to take over the job and then turn around and forget? He remembered that he had obtained a foreign number for this NPC, called Slime Publisher. What an international joke! He, the 2 world champions, the genius guide who is recognized in the history of electronic games, and the man with ID Morningstar actually became an NPC in a game? Or the bottom level one? What's even more terrible is the 7-day declaration of death. What does it mean to be cleared by the system? Is he disappearing in this world, or will he be doomed in the real world? A slight feeling shook the sky spirit from the bottom of the foot, allowing him to wake up instantly. He didn't know why he was here, nor did he know what his body was like in reality, but one thing he was sure of: he didn't want to die, and he didn't want to be cleared like garbage. Just when there was a terrible group in his brain, a noise came from afar. He saw the virtual gate made of light and shadow at the entrance of the village for a few seconds, and several figures walked out of the light. It is a player, and it is the first group of players to enter the game after Sky Creation Yuan is officially launched. They all looked very excited, wearing a novice cloth dress similar to Lin Chen, and looking at this brand new world curiously. Wow! This is really true. Look at this grassland, I can even hear the smell. 99% of the holographic immersion is indeed not a blowjob. This game is going to be popular. Look, there is an NPC there. There is a golden shock number on the head, and there must be a mission. A young player who seemed more reckless discovered him the first time and ran towards him yelled. Lin Chen's heart suddenly sank. He wanted to hide and say something, but his body was completely out of control. He could only stare at the player with the ID signature man running to him and clicked him without any politeness. It was almost an instinctive reaction. Lin Chen's mouth opened uncontrollably and said in a dull and plain language, "Hello, a brave adventurer." Some ill-fated slimes appeared on the grassland outside the village, which affected the normal life of the villagers. "Can you help me clear 10 slimes?" After talking about this passage, a mission window automatically popped up in front of the player. A man with a style didn't even look at the task description, so he directly accepted it. Then, as if he had discovered the new mainland, he turned around twice with Lin Chen, and even reached out to poke his face. "Hey, this NPC is so stupid, just like a wooden man." He smiled and said to his companion behind him, "Stop playing, go ahead and do the task. I heard that the first 1,000 resignations have special rewards." Another female player with ID Milk T7 Fun Candy urged. Several people took on the task with laughter and turned around and ran towards the grassland outside the village. No one looked at Lin Chen again. In their eyes, he was just a program, a prop to touch the mission, and no difference from a stone on the road. Lin Chen stood stiffly, feeling confused in his heart. Humiliation, anger, fear, all kinds of emotions are intertwined together. At some point, he was also a player who was so angry that he was clamoring for the world of the game. He has studied the dialogues of every NPC, explored every hidden mission, and played game rules in his palm. But now, he has become a prisoner who is treated casually by players and is firmly locked by rules. "No, you can't just sit there and wait." Lin Chen forced himself to calm down. Who is he? He is Morningstar, the warrior who can find the only way to survive among thousands of troops. The more absolute the situation, the more awake his brain becomes. In 7 days, it evolved into a mainline character. This sentence is the key. This means that the system is not completely unavailable for him. The so-called background character is like a white paper, without a story or growth line, and the meaning of existence is repeated in fixed work. The mainline character is a character who has his own background story, personality, and even influences the direction of the world. Evolve from background to mainline. Here in the settings of Sky Enlightenment there's no news. This is a paradox in itself, an impossible task. But the system has given this possibility, which shows that there must be a way to go. His visual line swept across the surrounding environment. Novice village, slime, novice players. Everything is the most basic configuration. What can he do now? He can't move, can't attack, and even he can only repeat the dead lyrics when he speaks. His only function is to issue this clear slime mission. Wait, mission. A light flashed through Lin Chen's brain. As a top player, he knows better than anyone how big and complex the mission system of Sky Enlightenment is. A seemingly simple novice task may be hidden behind it. During the official announcement, it was rumored that the NPCs in the game have high AI, which will respond differently according to the player's behavior and thus develop different plots. Although he is now dull and dumb, this rule may still be applicable. What if, could he find a way to use this only task to guide players to do something unusual? For example, it's not just as simple as killing 10 slimes. He began to raise and recall all the strategies and hidden settings about the novice village. He remembered that deep in the grassland, deep in the southeast corner of the novice village, there was a slime king whose body shape was a few circles larger than ordinary slime. It was not the mission goal, but a small outdoor elite monster. After being knocked out, it would give a novice blue outfit with good properties. But in the early stages of the game, most players were eager to upgrade their tasks, and few people would take the initiative to provoke it. If he could let the player kill that slime king? A background NPC that can only issue the Kill 10 Ordinary Slime mission, guides players to complete the achievement of killing elite monsters. Is this a kind of data anomaly? Does it count as leaving the pre-designed script? Once this thought appears, it can no longer be curbed. This is a luxury gamble. If the gamble is lost, nothing may change, and even speed up his clearing process. But if he wins, he may be able to pry his first wing of his life. Just as he was thinking about the specific operation method, another player walked towards him. The player's ID is very strange, with only one word. He didn't look like other novices, his eyes were calm and he walked smoothly step by step, not like he was playing games, but like he was patrolling his own territory. He came to Lin Chen and did not click immediately, but looked him up and down for a few seconds. That kind of scrutiny made Lin Chen feel as if he was being wiped out of his clothes. I just told him that this person is not simple. It's him. Lin Chen made up his mind. This player called may be the key to his breakthrough. The player named stood in front of him so quietly, without the rushing shots like the previous players, nor did he look east and west. His eyes were very focused, like analyzing a data model, rather than looking at an NPC in a novice village. Lin Chen's heartbeat couldn't help but miss a beat. This feeling was so familiar. This is not the eyes of ordinary players, this is the eyes of top-level predators when they are examining the pet, cold and profitable, and full of calculations. In the game in his previous life, he only looked similar on a few of the top opponents' faces. This person is definitely a master, and the kind of ashes who treats the game as a precision science research. People like this are definitely far superior to ordinary people. Ordinary players may ignore some minor anomalies, but he will not. He is the most perfect executor in his plan. Finally, the player named reached out and placed it lightly on Lin Chen. The familiar process started again, and Lin Chen felt that his mouth seemed to have been installed with an automatic playback key. The lyrics he was about to say were flowing out uncontrollably. Hello, brave adventurer. Some slimes appeared on the grassland outside the village, which affected the normal life of the villagers. Can you help me clear 10 slimes? Just as the words on the grassland were spoken, Lin Chen concentrated all his willpower, the strong thoughts of unwillingness, anger, and longing for survival, and suddenly threw himself towards the southeast. He imagined an invisible line that shot out from his own line and pointed accurately at the area where King Slime was. He even roared wildly in his brain, "Go to that side. Elite monster. King Slime. Newbie artifact. Go quickly." He didn't know if this would be useful, it was a completely unintended attempt by him based on his data abnormality. Can a soul trapped in the shell have a figment impact on the program code that wraps around him? Just as he did this, he felt his entire data model tremble slightly, like a short and unstable situation before the current was loading. And the standing in front of him raised his eyebrows slightly. The mission window pops out, and the shoulder does not click to accept immediately like others, but stops for 2 seconds. His visual line swept into the direction of Lin Chen's willpower projection, and looked towards the farther southeast. There seemed to be no special place except for the dense grass and sporadic trees. But he obviously realized something. Then he clicked the button Accept the task. After taking over the mission, he did not rush into the nearest monster pile like other players, but opened the game map and started to look carefully. His fingers moved a few times in the southeast corner of the map, as if confirming the coordinates. After doing all this, he put away the map and turned away. The direction he was moving forward was impartial, which was exactly the southeast direction where Lin Chen just tried his best to hint. It's done! Lin Chen's heart jumped wildly. Although I don't know what the other party has discovered, it turns out that his approach is effective. The player named actually captured the weak signal he released and chose to believe in his judgment. Next is a long and tormented waiting. Lin Chen was standing at the entrance of the village like a wooden rope, and new players kept surfing from the door. They looked at the world curiously, then ran to him and touched the unchanging dialogue. Lin Chen mechanically repeated the responsibility of voluntary work, but his whole mind was touched by the figure who was heading to the southeast. He could not see the battle there, nor could he hear any fighting sounds. The only thing he could do was stare at the blood-red counter in the upper right corner of the field. Remaining time, 6 days, 22 hours, 14 minutes, 32 seconds. Time passed by minute, and every time it jumped, it was like a little slap hitting his heart. He began to think uncontrollably. Can that show beat King Slime? King Slime's attack power is quite high for novice players, and it also has a split skill. Once it is not right, it is easily destroyed and killed. Once he fails, will his plan be poured into soup? Or maybe he didn't find King Slime at all, but just wandered around in that direction? There were countless possibilities in Lin Chen's brain, making him feel anxious. This feeling of being unable to do anything to others is more than 10,000 times more difficult than being forced into an extreme situation by his opponent in the game that year. Just when he was almost losing patience, the system announcement of the entire novice Murakami was blowing like a thunderbolt. Announcement of the entire server: congratulations to the player run for successfully killing the first elite leader of the #1 novice village, Giant Slime King. The prize is expected to be 100 points, 1 gold coin, and the industry will be loaded into the heroic history of the legend of the Yuan dynasty. This announcement was broadcast 3 times in succession to ensure that every online player can hear it clearly. In an instant, the entire novice village was in full swing. Damn it! What's the situation? How long has it been? Someone killed the elite boss? Who is? Is it so fierce? I'm not even able to do anything even to the 10th little slime. Where's the Giant Slime King? Come and play it. The first killing prize can be won by 1 gold coin, which can be exchanged for $1,000 on the official platform. Take you down, someone can kill you alone, and you will be delivering food when you go. Which one of the great gods opened the small number? The few novice players who just took over the job in front of Lin Chen all looked up in shock, listening to the announcement from the sky, and writing shock and admiration on their faces. They looked at each other, and then looked at the novice knife, who was not as good as the wooden stick in their hands, with a wonderful expression on their faces. And Lin Chen, the moment he heard the announcement, he felt that all the blood in his body was on his head. He succeeded. He really pried this dead game rule. His background NPC, which was judged by the system as not to deviate from pre-designed scripts, actually affected the behavior of a player and led to an event that was enough to load into the game history. He endured the ecstasy in his heart and tried hard to keep himself in a silent NPC state. He knew that this was just the first step, the insignificant first step. But this step is a breakthrough from 0 to 1, which is the first bright light he opened for himself in this absolute situation. Just as the whole village players were still discussing the support impulse, a cold system prompt sound that only Lin Chen could hear was directly heard in his brain again. This time, it is no longer a warning, but a brand new piece of message. System diary record: anomaly data link related to NPC Lin Chen was detected. Event assessment: after accepting the regular task of clear slime, the player's slime has a major deviant behavior path and has successfully touched the hidden target, killed a Giant Slime King. Related analysis: the analysis is completed. Conclusion: NPC Lin Chen's contribution to this incident is 17.3%. Data models produce trace evolution. Get experience value, 10 points. Then, in the lower left corner of Lin Chen's field, a very simple attribute panel jumped out. Behind level 1, a detailed experience appeared, starting from 0, pushing forward slowly to about 1/10 of the length. Although it was just a trivial 10-point experience, Lin Chen seemed to have seen the most beautiful scenery in the world. This means he is on the right path. He, an NPC, can be upgraded. The sentence evolution as the main line character is no longer an out-of-reach fantasy. His heart rekindled a hot hope and his eyes became more stable than ever. He looked at the bustling new group of players at the entrance of the village, who knew nothing about what had just happened, and the corners of his mouth were uncontrollably and extremely lightly, in a curve that could hardly be seen upwards. This game has only really begun now. After the short enjoyfulness of the experience, Lin Chen quickly calmed down and began to overturn everything that happened just now. 17.3% of the commitment, 10-point experience value. This number is not high, but it has extraordinary meaning. This proves that as an anomalous data, he is capable of interfering in the world's operating rules and profiting from it. His current goal is very clear: to repeat this process continuously before the 7-day reversal period is over, accumulate experience values, and improve his data model. He needs more players like to perform the stinging operations in his brain. He studied the game Heavenly Yuan for 3 years in his previous life. From banning test to public test, and then to subsequent version updates, he knew all kinds of hidden settings, Easter eggs, and shortcuts in the game as straightforward. The map of the novice village is as clear as his backyard in his eyes. He could tell wherever there were mines, wherever there were herbs, wherever there were little monsters with a strange drop rate. These knowledge used to be his capital to become famous, but now it has become his only life-saving straw. Just as he was counting his next goal, the player who triggered the entire server's move, Zhang, actually came back. He did not go to the mission in a hurry like other players, but walked straight to Lin Chen with steady steps. His equipment has been replaced, no longer a ragged novice cloth, but a set of leather armor with a faint blue light, and a simple and sharp short sword in his hand. This is obviously the loot that killed Queen Slime. The players around him immediately noticed him, and a small sensation arose in the crowd. Look! It's that great god. Both, he's back. The set of equipment he has on is so nice, is it blue, right? Big boss, please take it. Please tell me where King Slime is. Faced with the noise around, seemed to be unheard. His eyes were locked on Lin Chen from beginning to end. That kind of scrutiny gaze came again, more profitable than before and more full of exploration. Lin Chen's heart was raised. He didn't know what the other party wanted to fuck. Are you going to hand over the mission? Or, have you discovered your own wrongness? Shou stood in front of him, without clicking on the mission panel or saying anything. He stood there, staring at the NPC Molu with Lin Chen. As time passed by minute by second, the atmosphere became a little strange. Players around were also curiously surrounded, wanting to see what the number one person in the server was going to do. Hey, why doesn't he move anymore? Can this NPC have any further tasks? I don't know. I left just after I took over the task. I didn't find anything special. Lin Chen felt like a book placed under the spotlight, staring at by countless eyes. On the surface, he still maintained the dullness of NPC and was flying in his heart. Do you want to fuck this sweep? Is he trying to interview me? At this moment, the shoulder finally moved. Instead of pointing Lin Chen, he did an action that everyone would not expect. He opened his bag and took out something from it, a crystal clear, blue gel body that was still slightly glowing. The core of King Slime. This is a mission item that Queen Slime will drop 100%, but it does not belong to any known mission. In the normal process of the game, this can only be sold to the store to change a few copper plates, or kept as souvenirs. Most players may just throw it away after taking a look. But Shoulder doesn't. He took this core and walked towards Lin Chen, making a giving action. Lin Chen's brain buzzed. What does he want to fuck? Could he guess that the NPC, who announced the killing of Slime, had something to do with King Slime? This guy's insight is too distorted. According to the system settings, Lin Chen, as a background NPC, cannot accept any items given by players. He can only issue tasks and then wait for the player to complete the game to automatically settle. Sure enough, when the shoulder action was made, a system prompted him to pop out in front of him. The goal cannot accept your items. However, did not give up. He cancelled the action and started again. Once, twice, 3 times. He patiently repeated this unintentional movement to others. Players around have begun to become impatient. What are you doing? Waste time. I guess the game has a bug, it's been dispersed. The crowd dispersed, leaving only Shoulder still trying. Lin Chen's mood was extremely complicated. On the one hand, he was shocked by the player's enslavement and Mincheng. On the other hand, he was also anxious about his inability to do his job. He really wanted to accept that core. He had a strong sense of premonition that as long as he accepted this thing, he would definitely come into contact with more amazing events and gain more experience. But he couldn't do it. The system's shackles tied him tightly. Just as Lin Chen was about to be desperate, he suddenly remembered the 10-point experience he had just obtained. The data model produces trace evolution. What does this sentence mean? Does it mean that he is a little different from the one who is just completely unable to move? A thought that was so big that it was almost crazy was formed in his brain. He wants to resist, he wants to take the initiative to fight against the bottom-level settings of the system. He closed his eyes and focused all his consciousness on his body, just as he just used his thoughts to guide the way. But this time, he was not going to send a signal out, but to move inside to block the invisible barrier. Move it! Give me some action! He roared wildly in his heart. He felt his data flow as if it was boiling, and countless zeros and ones were flashing in a mess. He tried to control his hand and catch the blue core that was close to him. His body began to shake violently, and his vision became light and dark, like an old TV with poor signal. Beside the counter in the upper right corner, one more red color after another jumped out. Warning, data overflow risk, hint. Standing in front of him, he perceived the changes in NPC. He saw Lin Chen's body trembling slightly, and the expression on his face seemed to have a very slight relaxation, no longer the deadly and dull. His eyes lit up, and his hands were even more stable. Lin Chen felt that his consciousness was about to be torn apart. This behavior against the bottom-level rules of the system is too much for his fragile anomalous data. He felt that he might collapse at any time and be cleared by the system on the spot. But he did not give up. This is his only chance. Give me, move, ah. Just as he felt that he was about to be unable to hold back, a miracle happened. His right hand, which was supposed to be welded to both sides of his body, moved slightly forward with an amplitude that was almost impossible to detect with the naked eye. At the same time, she once again emerged from the core of King Slime. This time, the system did not pop up the prompt "Target cannot be accepted." The blue core turned into a ray of light and successfully entered Lin Chen's swallow bag, a place he himself didn't know existed. At almost the same time, a series of brand new system prompts rushed into Lin Chen's brain like a screen sweeping. System diary record, serious abnormalities were detected. NPC Lin Chen violated the bottom-level interactive agreement and successfully received the player's item King of Slime. Event assessment, this behavior has severely deviated from pre-designed scripts, and has hidden the mission thread the village chief's worry. Related analysis, the analysis is completed. Conclusion, NPC Lin Chen's contribution to this incident was 82.7%. The data model produces significant evolution. Get experience value, 50 points. Congratulations! Your level is upgraded to LV2. You unlock the new ability, Limited Movement, can move slowly within 1 meter of the character. You have unlocked the new ability, Script Extension, you can add an additional prompt to the default dialogue base. Lin Chen's attribute panel was refreshed wildly, and the level changed from 1 to 2, and the experience was instantly halfway. More importantly, he felt that the invisible power that had been banning his body was relaxed. He tried to move his feet. Although he was still a little stiff, like a robot with a lens, he could do it. He raised his head and looked at the shoulder in front of him. And Zhang was also looking at him, his eyes filled with shock, and EZ was indeed so clear. Lin Chen knew what he had to say. He focused on trying to use the new ability of Smart Expansion. He first said the familiar vocabulary according to the system's preset, "Hello, brave prodigal adventurer." Maybe it was because he was just upgraded and the data was still unstable, and his voice actually showed a slight card. Then, he used his best to attach what he wanted to say to the later part of the line. The village, the mines on the east side of the village have recently, it seems, not peaceful. This sentence is said to be continuous, the sound is dry and sandy, like a person who has not spoken for a long time is trying to open his mouth. But this sentence was spoken from his mouth. After saying this, he felt that all the strength in his body was exhausted. But his heart was unprecedentedly exciting. And the standing opposite him suddenly shrank after hearing this sentence. When Lin Chen couldn't spit out the prompt about the mine, he could clearly feel that the player called on the opposite side had stopped breathing for a second. In the eyes of Dooley, a shocked look flashed, and then turned into deeper thoughts and excitement. A novice village NPC who will only release the mission of killing slime actually took the initiative to give a thread to another location. This is simply overwhelming in the game logic of Skiria. Lu didn't stop any longer. He looked at Lin Chen deeply, and his eyes seemed to be saying, "I understand." Then he turned around and walked towards the east side of the village. He didn't even submit the completed Purge Slime mission, because he knew something more valuable had appeared. Watching Song walk away, Lin Chen let out a sigh of relief, feeling that his entire data body was a bit soft. The operation just now almost exhausted all of his mental energy. He tried to move his feet a little, shifting half a step in place. Although the movements were still as stiff as a marionette, the feeling of being able to control his body autonomously was really wonderful. He opened his attribute panel and carefully studied the new abilities he had just acquired. Level 2. Experience, 10 of 200. Ability 1, Limited Movement, can slowly move within a 1-meter radius around the character. Ability 2, Script Expansion, can add 1. Ellie came to Lin Chen with a quick pace. She didn't need to click to touch and interact like a player, but instead rolled Lin Chen around happily, as if she was enjoying an interesting art piece. Her amethyst-like eyes looked up and down at Lin Chen, her eyes filled with curiosity and inquiry. A data model is unstable, with overflowing risks, and can also touch the village entrance NPCs that hide mission chains. It's really interesting. Alice's voice was crisp and cold, like a storm, but what she said made Lin Chen's data flow almost shattered. She knows. She knows everything. Lin Chen's brain was blank. He felt like a student who cheated and was caught by a teacher who was cheated and was caught on the spot. His palms were covered with cold sweat if he had sweat glands. The only thing he can do now is to be stupid. It is just an ordinary program with a small bug. AI Lizzie seemed to see through his sweat, smiled lightly, stretched out a delicate finger, and gently placed it on Lin Chen's head. "Don't be nervous, little guy." Her voice brought a silly story. The heaven system likes balance, but it never rejects interesting variables. Your existence adds a little bit of surprise to this just-started story. With the touch of her fingers, a gentle stream of data flowed into Lin Chen's body, repairing the data damage caused by his strong resistance to the rules. The tear that was about to overflow disappeared. This is... Lin Chen was shocked. The monitor of this system not only did not remove him, but instead helped him to stabilize the data? What exactly is this situation? Shut. Ellie put her finger on her lips, made a silent hand, and blinked playfully. "Someone is back. Show me well, let me see how big a wave your little variable can make." After speaking, her figure seemed to appear as abruptly, turning into a spot of light, and the air disappeared. It seems that she has never been there. Lin Chen had not returned to the sensation from the huge shock brought by Ellie, and saw a familiar figure appearing on the road east of the village. Its shoulder. He looked much more than when he left the wolf. His blue leather armor was broken and less than half of his blood was left. But he came back alive. Moreover, behind him, there was an NPC with a short stature and big beard. The NPC had a yellow name on its head, the dwarf iron craftsman Good. Lin Chen's heart jumped up again uncontrollably. Not only did he succeed, he also brought the key NPC back directly. At almost the same time, the system announcement, which was 10 times brighter than before when King Slime was killed in the first time, exploded over the entire server of Sky Creation Yuan. World-level announcement: congratulations to the player Zhang, under the guidance of NPC Lin Chen, successfully penetrated into the Black Iron Mine Cave and rescued the key drama lover, the dwarf iron craftsman Good. The Sky Creation Yuan dedicated system has officially opened. World-level announcement: all players' life skills panels have now been unlocked for development in mining professions. You can go to each main city or learn from the dwarf iron craftsman Good. World-level announcement: as the key developer of this world-level event, players Shou and NPC Lin Chen will receive special rewards, and their career will be permanently engraved on the hero monument in the central plaza of the original city. The 3-time world-class announcement was like a blockbuster bomb, which exploded among all players. The entire Sky Creation Yuan was in chaos. If it is said that the first killer of the elite monster, and only a small number of high-end players noticed his existence, then this time the power of the entire game's core life system has opened up, which will make him and another name NPC Lin Chen instantly become a metaphor. I didn't hear anything wrong, did I? NPC Lin Chen? Isn't it the wooden man who developed Slime's mission at the entrance of the village? A NPC in the background of a novice village can actually guide players to develop world-class events? The AI of this game is so awesome. Hero Monument. That's the highest honor. There's actually an NPC's name? This is a simplicity of being heard. Hurry! Go to number 1 Novice Village. That NPC named Lin Chen is definitely a hidden boss, and there must be other tasks on him. For a while, the frequency of light gates in number 1 Novice Village increased rapidly, and countless players rushed into this originally inconspicuous place from all over the world. Their goal is only one: to find the legendary NPC named Lin Chen. As the center of the incident, Lin Chen was experiencing an unprecedented storm. System Diary Record: the world-class drama was detected and exposed. Event Evaluation: NPC Lin Chen as the initial search provider. The commitment to the Dwarf Iron Slayer's rescue incident was determined to be 42.1%. The data model undergoes huge evolution. Get experience value, 500 points. Congratulations! Your level is upgraded to LV3. Congratulations! Your level is upgraded to LV4. Your attributes panel has been updated, and the strength, agility, physical, and intellectual attributes have been unblocked. Your limited movement ability has been upgraded to free movement, within the script area. Your stamp extension ability has been upgraded to semi-autonomous dialogue, can be used for limited free dialogue with keywords, and the cooling time is shortened to 1 minute. You unlock the new ability, Task Link Generation, can generate subsequent related tasks based on existing traces, low probability of generating continuous contacts. Warning: your data evolution speed is far beyond the system's default value, and has attracted the attention of the Sky AI core layer. Please be cautious. A series of upgrades and ability unlocking made Lin Chen ecstatic, and the pleasure of upgrading 2 levels made him feel that the data in his body was relaxed. He could now feel that his body became more solid, no longer the illusion of light flying before. He can even clearly feel the existence of the concepts of power and agility. He tried to clench his fists, and the remarks made a light, real sound. More importantly, he finally removed the 1.5 meters limit that would have died, and could freely move in the working area he planned by the system, that is, the small open space at the entrance of the village. Moreover, his dialogue ability has also been improved in quality. He no longer has the ability to add 1 sentence, but can have limited and real communication with players. All of this means that he has taken another big step away from the goal of mainline role. But the last warning from the core layer of Sky Creation AI was like a basin of cold water on his head, making him calm down in an instant. He knew that he was walking on a steel wire. One side was the temptation of flying and the other side was the deep impurity that was wiped out by the system. He must be more careful and more cleverly hiding his true ideas. Just as he was digesting these huge changes, the shoulder walked up to him with the big beard dwarf. The dwarf iron craftsman good looked bad, and there was some dust on his cheeks on his face. He looked up and down at Lin Chen, and said in his rough voice, "It's you guy, who told the warrior my position. Well, although you look weak, your eyes are still spiritual. I owe you a favor." After saying that, without waiting for Lin Chen to respond, he walked to an empty thatched hut next to him, took out a huge iron from his bag, smashed it on the door with a clang sound, smashed the locks open, and then walked in with a big blow, looking like he had regarded it as his new store. And turned his eyes to Lin Chen again after and got the dwarf. His eyes were complicated, with exploration, glance, and even a thread, vigilant. He knew that the NPC in front of him was absolutely abnormal. "Who are you?" This time, Zhang did not conduct any further trials, but opened the mountain to ask. His voice was very low, and it was sure that only 2 of them could hear it. Lin Chen's heart skipped a beat. This problem is too fatal. How should he answer? Say you are a player trapped in the game? The other party will definitely treat him as a crazy person, or a unique AI. He quickly adjusted the semi-autonomous dialogue ability he had just obtained, surrounded the keywords NPC, mission, and search, and organized language in his brain. He cannot reveal his true identity, but he must give a reasonable explanation to maintain this delicate cooperative relationship with Shoulder. I is Lin Chen. Lin Chen opened his mouth. His voice was much more silent than before, but he still deliberately maintained a unique sense of stiffness in an NPC. I saw some scrawls that others cannot see. Brave adventurer, your actions have proved my sense. This is a carefully designed set of vocabulary. Neither admitting that he is a player nor completely defining himself as an ordinary NPC, he concludes his abnormality into a special perception ability. This sounds like a fantasy game. After hearing that he was silent, he stared at Lin Chen's eyes tightly, as if he wanted to see something from it. Lin Chen was calmly in contact with him, his eyes clear and he could not hide. Just as the two were confronting each other, a large group of players who had heard the news rushed over like a tide, instantly submerging the two of them. Great God! It's the Tsang Great God! And that NPC Lin Chen. He's really here. Big boss, please give a quest. I also want to go on TV. Are you Lin Chen? Do you have any more clues? Tell me quickly. Countless players chattered around Lin Chen, with various interaction requests, dialogue boxes, and team invitations popping up in front of him like snowflakes. This scene made even Lin Chen, a former esports star, feel a wave of scalp tingling. He had now become the hottest commodity in the entire server. He saw that Tsang's eyebrows furrowed, clearly not liking this noisy environment. Under the crowd's pushing, Tsang was squeezed to one side. Lin Chen knew he had to do something to control the situation and also give Tsang a signal. He cleared his throat and said to all the players in a voice much louder than before, "Dear adventurers, please stay quiet. A new threat is brewing, and I need true warriors to investigate some information for me." He utilized his new ability Quest Chain Generation. As his words fell, a brand new quest appeared in his quest release list. Quest name, Potential Threat. Quest description, NPC Lin Chen seems to have perceived a new danger. He needs brave adventurers to go to the goblin camp in the northern part of the newbie village and bring back 10 goblin scout badges to prove your strength. This quest was very ordinary, with rewards only some experience and copper coins. But its appearance successfully diverted the attention of all players present. They immediately excitedly accepted the quest and then rushed toward the northern goblin camp like a swarm of locusts. The chaotic scene was finally temporarily controlled. After the crowd dispersed, Lin Chen scanned the area with his gaze but did not see Tsang's figure again. He seemed to have quietly left during the earlier chaos. Lin Chen's heart sank slightly. He did not know if Tsang's departure meant he accepted his statement, or he had developed deeper suspicions toward him. This most crucial chess piece seemed to be slipping out of his control. Tsang's quiet departure was like a fine thorn piercing into Lin Chen's heart. He was very clear that a player of Tsang's level thought about problems in a way completely different from ordinary people. His set of special perception excuses might fool the masses, but not him. He did not expose it on the spot, more likely calmly assessing his value and potential risks. This feeling of losing control made Lin Chen very uneasy. His every evolution now was almost closely related to Tsang's actions. If he lost this most powerful executor, his upgrade path would undoubtedly become much more difficult. However, he had no time to think about these things right now. Although the Tide-like players had been temporarily drawn away by him with a new quest, this was only a stopgap measure. He had to take advantage of this precious window period to consolidate his advantages and prepare for the next plan. He turned his attention to the thatched hut nearby that had just been forcibly occupied by the dwarf blacksmith Good. Sounds of ding-ding-dang-dang hammering came from the hut, along with occasional wafts of the scorched smell of heated metal. Lin Chen took a deep breath and stepped forward. He could now move freely in this village entrance area, This was his first time actively approaching a story NPC instead of passively waiting. He walked to the door of the thatched hut and looked inside. He saw that the dwarf Good had already set up a simple furnace and anvil, bare-chested with a body of solid muscles, sweating profusely as he hammered a red-hot iron ingot. Sparks flew everywhere, full of a primitive and powerful beauty. "If you have something to say, say it, don't stand at the door like a fool," Good shouted without lifting his head, in a muffled voice. Lin Chen steadied himself, using his semi-autonomous dialogue ability to organize his words and said, "Master Good, I am Lin Chen. Thank you for acknowledging my favor." "I, Good Copperbeard, keep my word." The dwarf threw the hammered iron ingot into a nearby cold water bucket, making a hiss sound as white steam instantly spread. "However, favors are favors, and business is business. If you want to get good things from me, you have to offer something of equal value." This sentence hit Lin Chen right where he wanted. He knew this was the signal to trigger the subsequent quest. He immediately responded. "Oh?" Good stopped his movements. He finally turned around and looked at Lin Chen with his eyes that were deeply trapped under his eyebrows. "What are you referring to? Don't tell me that they are the inequality copper mines in the mine. That thing is only for the recruits to practice." "Of course not." Lin Chen's words contained a sense of confidence. "I know a place where there is a rarer black iron mine than copper mines." Black iron mine. As soon as these 3 words were released, Good's eyes lit up instantly, like the most vigorous charcoal fire in the melting furnace. Black iron mines are high-level materials that can only be accessed in the middle of Sky Chief Yuan. They can be used to create excellent blue equipment. For players and craftsmen in the early stage of the game, they are simply a simplified existence. "What you said is true." Good's voice was trembling. He threw the iron in his hand and pushed it to Lin Chen a few steps. His rough fingers almost poked his nose. "Boy, you'd better not make a joke about this. The deception of a dwarf ironmaker is more despicable than being torn to pieces by a dog." Faced with the dwarf's violent aura, Lin Chen did not retreat. He looked straight into the other party's eyes and said word by word, "In the west of the village, beyond the lowly forest, there is a cursed swamp. In the center of the swamp, there is a deserted whistle tower. I feel that there are rich black iron mines buried under the whistle tower." This piece of information was a secret information that he had studied countless ancient books and maps in his previous life. In the normal progress of the game, this mine starts until the average player level reaches level 20 or above, and the relevant task links in the main city will be revealed. Now that he has knocked him out in advance, it is undoubtedly another luxury to challenge the rules of the system. Good stared at him, his face calm and unstable. He was obviously shocked by the news, but the dwarf's natural suspicion made him unable to believe it immediately. "The cursed swamp, the abandoned whistle." He murmured, as if recalling some ancient saying, "That place is not something new to beginners. The monsters inside are abnormal and deadly poisonous. Even if there are really black iron mines, who can bring them out alive? I believe that there are always real warriors who can do it." Lin Chen said with some meaning. His words were both said to Good and shouted from the air to the person who was watching his shoulder from somewhere. He believes that as long as this task is released, the shoulder will definitely be seen. This is both a challenge and an invitation. Sure enough, after listening to Lin Chen's words, Good was silent for a long time. Finally, he seemed to have made up some decision and hummed heavily. "Okay. I believe you once." He turned around and found a yellow sheepskin paper and a charcoal pencil from a pile of miscellaneous objects, and quickly drew something on it. "This is a simple map that marks the approximate location of the marsh. You hand it over to those who think they are warriors. Whoever brings me the first black iron mine, I will create a unique black iron weapon for him and accept him as my only disciple." Speaking of which, he stuffed the map into Lin Chen's hand. System tips: you have successfully developed the world-class hidden mission chain Lost Black Iron Mineral First Ring. You have obtained the mission prop Good Simple Map. You have obtained the mission issuance permission. You can issue the mission warrior's certificate, find black iron mines to players. Event Assessment. NPC Lin Chen independently leads the generation of world-class mission chains, and the data model undergoes directional evolution. Get experience value, 300 points. Your task link generation capabilities have been enhanced to set more variety of mission awards and conditions. Your NPC template evaluation has been upgraded from background character to elite character, poverty. A series of prompts made Lin Chen feel excited. Elite role. Although it still carries a popular backpack, it is already a quality flying. He is no longer the background board that may be cleared at any time, but a key figure who has his own independent mission line and can influence the game progress. The bloody color in the upper right corner of the field also changed at this moment. Remaining time, 6 days, 10 hours, 48 minutes, 21 seconds. The system warning has been temporarily released. Please successfully evolve into the mainline role in the remaining time. The warning was lifted at a while. Lin Chen finally let go of his heart. This means he temporarily escaped from the danger of being removed and gained more breathing time. He held the warm sheepskin map in his hand and had a plan in his mind. Instead of immediately distributing the task of this burner, he chose to wait. He is waiting for the players who are going to do the Goblin Badge mission to come back. He wants to use this mission to select real elites, and at the same time, he also needs to see if shoulder appear. It took no time for the first batch of players who completed the mission to return. They submitted the Goblin Badge happily and replaced the meter bonus. At this moment, a player wearing assassin leather armor and skill did not leave immediately after submitting the mission, but said to Lin Chen, "My lord Lin Chen, I just saw a single player near the goblin camp. His operations were very harmful. He cleared a large area of campground. It was that she." Lin Chen's heart jumped suddenly. He is indeed still nearby. He did not go far, but was observing in secret, perhaps even evaluating his abilities. Lin Chen pointed his head in a voiceless voice, and then said to all the players in front of him who completed the mission, Gao Yin announced, "Dear brave adventurers, your strength has been initially proven. However, a bigger test and an opportunity to make you famous all over the world are right in front of you." He slowly unfolded the Goods Easy map and showed it to all players. This is a treasure map to wealth and glory. But the place it points to is full of danger. The first person who can bring black iron mine to me will be taught by the dwarf iron craftsman Good, and a magic weapon tailor-made for you. As the voice fell, the entire player group exploded in an instant, and everyone's eyes were red. Dwarfs. Definitely formulated magic weapon. This is an irresistible confusion for players in the early stage of the server. Lin Chen's eyes passed through a crazy and hot face in front of him and threw themselves towards a big tree far away. He seemed to see a blurred figure standing there calmly for a moment under the tree, then turned around and disappeared into the depths of the forest. When the intriguing mission of black iron mining was announced, the atmosphere in the entire novice village changed. The originally harmonious training atmosphere was instantly replaced by a tight and competitive atmosphere. Almost all players who think they are somewhat powerful have turned their attention to the mysterious verbal forest in the west of the village. However, the difficulty of the challenge quickly gave these head-on players a wake-up call. The monsters in the low-lying forest are far from slime on the grassland. The timberwolves and poisonous spiders who are trapped in the shadows are almost a dreamlike existence for players who only wear newbie gear. Soon, the resurrection light at the entrance of the village began to flash one after another, and a player with a drooping head was reborn from the light, with a frustration on his face. Damn, the wolf in the forest is too fierce. I will be instantly killed in 3 or 2. Don't mention it. I was poisoned by a spider before I could even touch the edge of the swamp. I lost my first experience and it was so big. This mission is not something that can be done at this stage at all, right? Is that NPC Lin Chen fooling us? Players complained one after another, but Lin Chen just stood there quietly, silently without any worries. He knew very well that this mission was not prepared for ordinary players. This is a screening, a stage set only for top players. He needs to use this mission to turn the sharpest sharp knife firmly on his battle car. He believed that would definitely go, and he would definitely do it. Lin Chen was not idle either while waiting. He used his new identity as an elite character to start actively interacting with the surrounding environment. He would walk to the door of the iron craftsman of the dwarf good, watch him rig, and occasionally touch a few conversations about the skills of the manufacturing. He would also stay at the well at the entrance of the village and chat with several female NPCs who were responsible for logistics. Although their AI was very low and their answers were always the same, all of this was Lin Chen's attempt to expand his reasonable existence. He wants the system to make all players feel that Lin Chen is originally a special and important existence in this village, rather than a data anomaly that suddenly appears. Just as most players were eagerly following the black iron mining mission, some people even began to suspect that Lin Chen was releasing the mission of death. The appearance of a person once again broke the tranquility of the novice village. It is the leader of the top guild, Yi Wang. He did not appear from the resurrection spot, but walked in from a vast road outside the village with more than a dozen well-equipped players. This group of people was extremely energetic, wearing the Breaking Guild's Dawn emblem on their chests, and it was obvious that they were a team of elites with strict laws. Yi Lu walked in the front of the team. He was tall and wearing a pendant armor engraved with golden runes, with a cold and aggressive look. He ignored the awe-inspiring eyes of the players around him and walked straight to Lin Chen. "Are you Lin Chen?" Yi Lian's voice was low and magnetic, but his language brought a high-level review. Lin Chen raised his head and met him. This Yi Lin was like a thunderous ear in the game circle of his previous life. The Palisan Association is one of the largest game guilds in the country, and is known for its strong financial resources and domineering behavior. Yi Huang himself is a heroic figure who is good at calculating and does not use means for his purpose. He had long expected that he would have created such a great silence and would have attracted the power of these big guilds. "It's me." Lin Chen's answer was neither humble nor arrogant. He is now an LV4, and facing this kind of scene, he has already given up a lot of things in his mind. "Did you issue the mission of black iron mining?" Yi Lian glanced over Lin Chen, and then looked at the iron craftsman who was not far away. It was obvious that he had come and had already figured out the situation clearly. "Yes." "Very good." Yi Lu pointed a little, and a meaningful smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. "We broke the Xiaogui. Are we very interested in this mission?" "Just buy it. How much gold, or what equipment is needed to sell the only ropes of this mission to us?" In his opinion, no matter how special an NPC is, it is ultimately just a data. And as long as it is data, you can use your interests to drive. He was accustomed to using this method to solve problems, which was direct and efficient. Lin Chen sneered in his heart. "Sell? The game he has made with great effort is something that can be bought in the district." What's more, he knew very well about the style of Yi Luo's behavior. Once he got the mission cable, he would definitely use the power of the guild to seal the entire swamp area and take the black iron mine as his own. By then, don't say stop, even ordinary players don't want to get a share. This is not in Lin Chen's interests. What he needs is an open and competitive environment that maximizes the development of the wind and makes profits from it. So, Lin Chen snatched his head and said in a slightly apologetic and NPC-compliant verb, "Sorry, this adventurer. Master Good's commission is for all warriors. Glory cannot be measured by money." The smile on Yi Yang's face froze. He never expected that he would be rejected by NPCs from a novice village. The members of the Breaking Guild behind him also showed bad looks on their faces, and they surrounded Lin Chen with a hint of air, and the atmosphere was always going to be a strife. "Are you sure? You have to know what the consequences will be if you offend us to break the Xiaogui." Yi Lian's voice cooled down, and there was an unconcealed threat in his words. He can let hundreds of members of the guild come here to get furious, making this NPC unable to do anything. He has some way to deal with a nonsense procedure. Lin Chen's heart sank. He knew Yi Lu did what he said. Head on, he, an NPC, is definitely not a rival to the Grand Guild. He must try to resolve the crisis in front of him. Just as his brain was flying and thinking about solutions, a crisp sound came from afar. Oh, it's so hot. The powerful guild style is so powerful that he actually bullied an NPC who doesn't even have any weapons in the novice village. Are you not afraid of laughing when you send it out? Everyone looked at the sound and saw the mysterious girl Alice, who was sitting on the roof of the room beside her, shaking her 2 white calves and smiling at them. Her appearance was soundless, and no one knew when she got there. Yi Zhao's pupils suddenly shrank. He clearly knew Ellie, or he knew what this NPC with a golden name meant. In the official background information of Sky Creation Yuan, some world-class NPCs that have special identities and are not subject to common game rules, and Alice is obviously one of them. This kind of NPC is something he dare not offend. Mr. Alice. Yi Lian's language has gained a lot, but he still has a slight silence. We are just discussing some cooperation matters with this Mr. Lin Chen, without any maliciousness. Is that right? Alice jumped off the roof of the house casually, landing without sound. She walked to Lin Chen, patted him on the shoulder with a slight gaze, blinking at Yi Yang, and said, "But, I like this little guy. He has some interesting secrets. If you scare him and make him dare not tell me the story again, I will be very troubled." This sentence is written lightly, but the warning meaning is obvious. Ellie is showing her position. This NPC named Lin Chen, she is covered. Yi Yang's face became very difficult to see. He stared at Lin Chen, then looked at the innocent and innocent Ellie, balancing the pros and cons. He couldn't figure out what the relationship between these two NPCs was, but it was obviously unwise to go against a world-class NPC. Just as the atmosphere was stalemate, a system announcement that was brighter and more shocking than ever before was like a dragoning outside the 9 heavens, touching the entire world of The Legend of the Sky. Announcement of the story of the history world. Player Shoulder survived the brink of savages, traveled alone through the low-language forest and the cursed swamp, successfully arrived at the Crusade Tower, and brought back the Black Iron Mine as described in the first block. Announcement of the stylistic world of history. The player has been recognized by the dwarf iron craftsman Good, becoming his only disciple, and has won the special title Cinciner of Black Iron. Story world announcement. Due to the outstanding contributions of players and NPC Lin Chen, Number 1 Novice Village has been officially upgraded to Black Outpost, and will become the first junior adventurer city on the mainland with an independent investment center. All related NPC functions have been improved, and special tasks and regional merchants have been added. Announcement of the strong world of history. NPC Lin Chen has been recognized by the Sky Enlightenment system for its core guiding role in the lost black iron mineral incident and has officially evolved into a mainline role. The ending of the last historical simplicity announcement was still in the sky, and Lin Chen felt that his entire world had changed. The system warning that has been at the top of the head, like the Damocles drama, disappeared in an instant. What is replaced by an unprecedented sense of staircase and control? He is no longer an anomalous data that may be cleared at any time, but a mainline character officially certified by the highest will of this world, Sky Enlightenment AI. Congratulations! You have successfully evolved into a mainline role. NPC templates have been reshaped and all your basic properties have been greatly improved. Your level limit has been lifted, and you can obtain experience values through various methods such as completing the plot, guiding players, and participating in world events. You have obtained the special number, the Instructor of Destiny. Number effect. The tasks you issue will increase the attractiveness of players by 20%, and the plot events you lead will have a higher probability of world-class impact. You have obtained a complete AI emotional module that allows you to perform free conversation and interaction without restrictions. You have obtained a special skill, Eye of Insight. Skill effect. You can view some basic information and status of the player or NPC. The information details depend on the difference between your level and the other party. You have obtained a personal bag and installation column, and you can wear and use equipment freely. System tips. As the first mainline NPC evolved from background characters, your existence is unique. Please continue to explore this world and write your own legend. The massive information flow brushed Lin Chen's consciousness. This time it was no longer a cold data and warning, but a reward full of strength and freedom. He felt that his originally stiff body had finally come alive. He could feel the touch of the slight wind blowing over his face, the fragrance of the soil and grass in the air, and even clearly felt his heart beating vigorously. He really lives in this world. All these changes occur between light and flint. Yang, who stood opposite him, had changed from being shocked to being shocked, and then from being shocked to being shocked. He witnessed a miracle with his eyes. A NPC from a novice village evolved into a mainline character in front of him and under the attention of all server players. This completely overturned all his knowledge of the game. Is an NPC a fixed program? How could it still evolve? What exactly is this guy named Lin Chen? The elites behind him who broke the guild were also stunned, and they could hardly hold the weapons in their hands. They were just threatening objects, and they became the son of choice in the game. This huge contrast made their brains take action directly. Alice, who was standing beside Lin Chen, showed such a satisfied smile on her face. The look she looked at Lin Chen was as if she was appreciating her most proud work, full of praise. Lin Chen took a deep breath of the air of this world, and then turned his eyes back to the green-faced leaves. Now, the offense and defense are different. Will you grow up? Lin Chen's voice became calm and natural, and there was no longer the stiffness he had deliberately decorated before. Now, do you still think that Rong Yao can be measured by money? Yi Lu's lips moved, and he couldn't say a word. What else can he say? Talk about conditions with a mainline NPC that was just clicked by the system? Threat him? This is a huge joke. If he dares to sway Lin Chen now, he will probably be immediately judged by the Heavenly Kill system as the core character of the malicious attack plot. He will be in jail easily and directly deletion. At this moment, a rapid sound of footsteps came. A figure emerged from the forest little girl on the west side, which was the shoulder of the Fengxiaofu. He looked even more wolves than when he went to the mine last time. His leather armor was almost shattered, and there were a few scratches on his face, but his eyes were so shiny. He tightly held a piece of mine with dark bodies and strange energy patterns in his hands. It was the black iron mine that caused world-class events. He obviously came back as fast as possible after seeing the announcement. Showa's eyes locked on Lin Chen at the first time. When he saw Lin Chen's transformation and the name on his head that changed from ordinary white to glittering gold, he rarely showed a surprise on his iceberg face that had not changed for thousands of years. But he quickly returned to peace and just walked to Lin Chen silently and passed over the black iron mine in his hand. I'm done. His voice was still simple, but Lin Chen could hear a difficult-to-observe excitement in it. Lin Chen received the heavy black iron mine, and a warm touch came from his palm. He used the skill Eye of Insight he just obtained and looked at the poo in front of him. Player. Level 8. Profession. Not transferred. Name, the inheritor of black iron. Status, being tired and excited. Introduction, a mysterious and solo player with extraordinary game skills and insights, and his true identity is unknown. Level 8. While most players are still wandering in levels 3 or 4, he is already in a state of terrible damage. Moreover, his career has not changed, which means that all his battles are accomplished by the most basic flat cut and the player's own skills. This person's power is even more terrifying than Lin Chen imagined. You did a good job, shoulder dot. Lin Chen sincerely praised, then turned his head and looked in the direction of the iron craftsman. The dwarf Good had already rushed out of the room with excitement. He looked at the black iron mine in his hand and his eyes were almost flowing out. He slammed over the mine, touching his lover as if he was touching his lover, and kept muttering in his mouth, "It's true. It's really a black iron mine. The hope of revival of our clan." He raised his head and said seriously, "Warrior. You have proved your courage and strength. From today on, you are my only disciple of good copper. Come on, kid, enter my store and I will create a magic weapon for you that matches your identity." After saying that, he pulled his face and walked into the one that had already started to be expanded, gradually creating a thatched hut. Only Lin Chen, Alice, and Yi Huang and his breakthrough guild were left at the scene. The atmosphere was so awkward. Yi Lian's face turned blue and white. He knew that this time he not only did not get anything, but instead offended this mainline NPC with infinite potential. He brought people today and wanted to stage a good show of powerful dragon-powered ground snakes, but it turned out to be the background board for the evolution of NPCs and the rise of super players, and his face was gone. "Let's go!" Yi Lian could no longer stay. He pulled out 3 words from his teeth, calmly put on his face, and took his group of his subordinates with the same grey face, quickly walked away from the place where he was humiliated. Looking at their wolf-like backs leaving, Lin Chen knew that he and the Liangzi of the Breaking Coke had finally been concluded. But he is not afraid. As a mainline NPC, he has some ways to deal with the maliciousness from the players. "Congratulations, Lin Chen." Ellie walked to him with a smile. From a little kid who was about to be formatted, he has become one of the protagonists of this world. "How do you feel?" "I feel, it's pretty good," Lin Chen said in a real voice. "It is really good to destroy the threat of death and regain the new life." Identity? Number? Status, pleasant. Introduction: a mysterious existence traveling around the world seems to have a special interest in variables, and its purpose and true identity are both a group. A series of questions made Lin Chen feel heartbroken. The level and identity of this Alice are far beyond his current exploration ability. She seemed to be helping herself, but who would not say what her real purpose was. "Don't use your little ability to explore me, it's useless," Ellie said playfully, as if he knew what he was doing. "I'm here to remind you something. Being a mainline character just got a ticket to the entry. This game is much bigger and more dangerous than you think. The wave you made has attracted the attention of some big guys." After saying that, she turned into light and disappeared without waiting for Lin Chen to ask. Lin Chen stood there, digesting the words left by Ellie. Big guy? Is it a player guild like Yi Luo, or the system itself, or a higher-level existence? He was not as careful as he thought about it, and the glaze at the entrance of the village flashed violently again. This time, the one who came out was no longer an ordinary player, but an NPC soldier wearing a uniform armor and holding a long spear and a shield. They clasped a middle-aged man wearing a long Chinese robe and an official hat, and walked straight towards Lin Chen. The middle-aged man in charge came to Lin Chen, held a respectful ceremony, and then took out a roll of parchment rolls with the royal city seal from the back. "I am the special accountant from the city of Initial City," the middle-aged man said loudly. "After the order of the city lord, I specially invited Mr. Lin Chen, the teacher of the destiny, to go to city of Initial City C to discuss the defense and development plan of the Black Outpost. Lord, I want to see you on your own." The invitation from the city of origin was like a stone thrown into the surface of a silence, which aroused a new ripple in Lin Chen's heart. Black Iron Outpost, which is the upgraded novice village, is located remotely, but due to the discovery of black iron mining, its strategic value is no longer the same as before. It was both unexpected and reasonable to send people to the main city. This means that his stage will no longer be limited to this small village. He is about to enter the broader political and power center of the legend of the world. I will naturally not refuse the invitation from the city lord. Lin Chen's answer was straightforward. After becoming the main character, his words and deeds all exuded a sense of confidence that matched his identity. He said to the bookkeeper, "Please make sure I'll make a little preparation and I'll be able to come out with you soon." The journalist respectfully responded to the yes and then took the soldiers to wait, without any impatience. The status of the mainline NPC is obviously extraordinary. Lin Chen did not move immediately, but turned around and walked into the already developed Good Iron Man. The space inside the house is much larger than before. The original thatched hut was converted into solid wood shingles, and there were a few shelves that placed weapons and mines around the wall. Zhu was standing beside the melting furnace, watching Good carefully put the black iron mine into the fire to melt the furnace. The dwarf iron craftsman Good is a passionate and dedicated face, and he keeps talking about various magical methods and techniques in his mouth. He is obviously regarded as a garment and treasure and taught him. Seeing Lin Chen coming in, Zhang just looked up at him without saying anything. But Lin Chen could find a question from his eyes. "I'm going to the city of origin," Lin Chen said, "to see the mountain." Shut clicked a little, and it seemed that it was not surprising. For such a major event as a Black Iron outpost, it is impossible for the main city to not react. This time, it may be more dangerous than going to swamp. Lin Chen's voice pressure was a little lower. In the initial city, there is a quack dragon mixed up. Players like Yi Lin have a wrong power plate, and the power struggle between NPCs may be more deadly than the struggle between players. He said this was both a storytelling fact and a trial. He wanted to see the reaction of. A wonderful symbiotic relationship has formed between them, with Lin Chen responsible for providing the ropes and directions, while responsible for execution and breakthroughs. Now, Lin Chen is about to enter a brand new and unknown territory. He needs to determine whether this sharpest knife is willing to walk with him. Zhang was silent for a moment, and his eyes turned from the burning melting furnace to Lin Chen's eyes. Then he asked the seemingly irrelevant question, "Where is the transfer manager?" Lin Chen was slightly stunned and immediately understood. The selective level 8 has long reached the stage where you can transfer. But he certainly did not satisfy those regular careers. With his spirit, if he wanted to choose, he had to choose the strongest and most special one. Most of the relay leaders in the job are in the city of Initial. Lin Chen replied, "The Shadow Blade of the Assassin Alliance, the Iron Blood Core of the Warrior Hall, and the Chief Venerable of the Elemental Master Tower. Have you figured out where to go?" Shut slammed his head, his eyes were unrestrained. "I'm going to take a path that no one has walked." Lin Chen smiled. This sentence is so good for his appetite. As an electronics competitor in his previous life, what he likes most is to develop various non-mainstream play and combat techniques. "It just so happens that I know a place." Lin Chen's eyes flashed with a flash of light. In the depth of the sewer of the city of origin, there is a hidden instructor known as the Nameless One. He never belongs to any camp, but only teaches those techniques that are considered taboo by mainstream society. His transfer mission has been said to have never been completed. Shoa's eyes lit up instantly. It was a kind of gambler of joy when meeting opponents and seeing the key. He didn't say anything, but just had a lot of heads. Everything is in vain. Their tacit understanding is no longer necessary. Lin Chen knew that would follow him to the city of origin. After saying goodbye to Good, Lin Chen walked out of the Iron Craftsman. The journalist immediately came forward. "Sir Lin Chen, can we have a chance?" "It's okay." Lin Chen pointed. Under the guidance of the journalist, Lin Chen sat on a Huali horse led by 2 horses. This was his first time taking transportation after coming to this world. The inside of the car is soft red celestial trousers, which is very comfortable. With the driver shouting, the car was rolling and drove away, which he had promoted him from the novice village to a strategic location. Through the car window, Lin Chen looked back at the Black Iron outpost that was flying at a rapid pace. Players often come, some of them are in front of the Iron Scholar's Gate, some buy and sell supplements from new merchants at the entrance of the village, and some are teaming in groups of 3 or 5, ready to challenge the verbal forest again. Everything is full of life and vitality. And he, as the creator of all this, is about to go to a larger stage. The car drove on the wide official road, and the scenery on both sides flew back quickly. From the country fields, to the dense forests, to the open plains, the powerful scenes of this world unfolded one by one before his eyes. Lin Chen did not have the heart to appreciate the scenery. His brain was flying rapidly, thinking about the situation he might encounter next. Why do you want to see me in the city of the first city? Is it really for the development of Black Iron outposts, or is it another purpose? Will the big guy mentioned by Ellie wait for me in the city? In Yi Lin, after eating this freshman, it is impossible for him to be willing to rest. In his homeland, what means would he use to deal with me? One question after another appeared in his brain. He knew that this initial city trip would never be as calm as it seemed on the surface. After more than 2 hours of driving around the road, an extremely grand city appeared on the horizon. The tall white city wall is like the arms of a giant, holding the building of Shibi. There are countless spires that penetrate into the sky, reflecting dazzling light under the sun. That is the most important human city in Dongdaoyuan, the city of the first. As the car gets closer and closer, the city's majesty is becoming more and more shocking. The city gate is 10 meters high and is made of huge stone blocks and fine irons. The city wall is filled with patrol soldiers and flags are waving. Numerous players and NPCs entered and exited at the city gate, forming a large stream of people, and their complexity was far beyond that of black iron outposts. The car was investigated by the soldiers at the entrance of the city, but after the journalist showed the city lord's warrant, it was immediately released respectfully. Entering the city, the noisy sound came over. People come and go on the wide stone slab streets, and drive to the Dragon. There are various shops on both sides of the street, weapons stores, armor stores, pharmaceutical stores, auction stores, all kinds of sales, prices are not necessarily intimate. Innumerable players wearing various outfits gathered, traded, and formed a vibrant ecological system. Lin Chen looked at everything curiously like a villager who had just entered the city. This is the true core of the legend of the world. The car did not stop in the bustling business district, but passed through several streets and drove towards the central area of the city, the political district. The style of the buildings here has become more magnificent and more harsh. Finally, the car stopped in front of a magnificent white castle. This is the city lord's mansion. Mr. Lin Chen, the city lord has been waiting for you at the meeting hall for a long time. The journalist bowed and opened the door for him. Lin Chen took a deep breath, tidied up his robes, and walked off the horse. He raised his head and looked up at the symbol of power, knowing that his true meaning of the high-end game in the first stage of this world is about to begin. He walked and followed the clerk to the white ladder leading to the courtroom. After stepping on the white marble ladder of the city lord's mansion, Lin Chen could feel that the atmosphere around him was different. There is a lot of noise in the air and a lot of power. The soldiers standing on both sides of the corridor were equipped with more sophisticated equipment than the soldiers at the entrance of the city gate, and their eyes were also sharper. Their eyes looked at Lin Chen with a review, and they were obviously full of curiosity about his mainline character that suddenly appeared. After walking through several long corridors with the record officer, they came to a huge oak door carved with lion patterns. The bookkeeper stepped forward and knocked on the door lightly, then pushed the door open, bowed and made a please hand. Mr. Lin Chen, please come in. Lin Chen walked into the negotiation hall. This is an extremely spacious space with a high dome, and the sunlight is projected from huge stained glass windows, shading the light on the light floor. In the center of the hall is a huge round table, polished from a whole piece of obsidian, emitting a faint cold light. There were several people sitting around the table. The main position is a middle-aged man who looks about 50 years old. He is wearing a gold and purple robe and a simple crown on his head. His face is majestic and he is powerful without anger. A pair of deep eyes were like horns, locking him the moment Lin Chen entered the door. You don't need to guess that this is the lord of the first city, bald. On the left hand of the city lord, there was a strong soldier wearing heavy armor and a strong breath. There was a scar from the size of his head to his chin on his face, making his face look even more enchanting. He should be the military minister of the city of Initial, responsible for the entire city of troops. On the right hand of the city lord, there was a man who slightly shrank Lin Chen's pupils, Yi Lin. He changed into a battle outfit, put on a sturdy noble gift suit, and smiled unforgivingly on his face, as if the wolf at the black outpost had never happened before. When he saw Lin Chen coming in, he even pointed to him in a friendly place, with a deep look of coldness and playfulness hidden. He can actually sit in the city lord's office and be on par with these NPCs. Lin Chen immediately realized that he still underestimated the level of Yi Lu and the Balakan's penetration in the game. They are not only a player guild, but they may have been deeply involved in the power structure of this world through certain means. In addition to these few, there were several NPCs next to the table who looked like civil servants in noble clans. They all looked at Lin Chen with a mixed look of curiosity, doubt, and some enemies. Are you Lin Chen? The city lord barred open his mouth, his voice loud and powerful, and he had a stir in the hall. the guide who led the warriors to discover the Black Iron Mine and turned a small village into an outpost that could affect the kingdom's strategy. Yes, Lord City. Lin Chen answered without being humble and arrogant, and bowed slightly to give a gift. He knew that everyone here was watching him, and his every move might affect the direction of the conversation. Please sit down. The city lord pointed to an empty seat next to the table. Lin Chen sat down as he said, just opposite Yi Luo. The eyes of the two people intersected in the air, and invisible sparks burst out. I invite you today, the city lord Bald's fingers crossed, placed them on the table, and his body slightly forward. It's mainly for two things. The first is a reward for you. You have made great contributions to the kingdom and deserved a prize. As soon as he finished speaking, the journalist next to him took a step forward, unfolded a roll of sheepskin paper, and said loudly, according to the order of the city lord Bald, Lin Chen, the guider of the destiny, was the famous leader of the Black Iron Outpost, with 1,000 gold coins and a title of Friends of the City Lord, and can enjoy some of the privileges of the tribe in the initial city. This seal must not be considered heavy. Famous idea means that Lin Chen has legal authority to govern the Black Iron Outpost. Although the word famous is added before it, restricting some of the real rights, this is already a very high honor that an NPC can obtain. Thank you, Lord. Lin Chen stood up and went to celebrate again. He knew that this was just an appetizer, and the real good thing was still at the back. No need to give me more. The city lord snatched his hand and signaled him to sit down, then turned around. Now, we are talking about the second thing. About the ownership of the Black Iron Outpost and the right to open the mine. Come. Before the city lord could continue to say it, the man with a scar on his face beside him opened his mouth with a sound of scars. Lord City Lord, Black Iron mines are the country's important weapon and are a necessity for the production of armored weapons of the elite troops. Their practice and transportation must be fully taken over by the Royal Regular Army. There is no possibility of any mistakes, and it cannot fall into the hands of unknown explorers. When he was talking, his eyes still glanced at Yilan from time to time. His enemies were very clear. It seems that the internal faction of NPC is not a piece of iron board. This military minister is obviously a gangster faction who opposes the excessive expansion of players' efforts. As soon as the military voice fell, Yi Lu smiled lightly and said slowly, Gaowen will be a bad word for the army. Now that monsters are rampant, it is unlikely to rely on the kingdom's army to deal with the threats from all sides. We Venturers Guild, willing to divide the kingdom. The Black Iron Outpost is far away. If we send elite groups to help with the defense and take charge of mining, we will not only ensure efficiency but also save a lot of military spending for the kingdom. We are willing to supply the mines to the kingdom at a market price of 70%. Yi Lian said this highly sound, not only showing his willingness to divide the country, but also creating extremely tempting economic conditions. A 70% price is undoubtedly a huge confusion for the kingdom's financial affairs. The NPCs next to them who looked like financial officers were lit up. Lin Chen looked around with cold eyes. This is Yi Wang's method. He did not choose to fight head-on, but used game rules to penetrate from the economic and political aspects, and tried to cut into his own plate legally. For a while, the atmosphere in the meeting room became tight. Military Minister Gaowen set the sway between the military and the sway, and did not let each other go, while other NPC nobles also began to talk about private words, which obviously weighed the pros and cons. Everyone's eyes finally focused on the city lord Bald. He is the ultimate decision-maker. The city lord Bald pondered for a long time, but did not immediately express his opinion. He turned over and looked at Lin Chen, who had been silent from head to end. Lin Chen, you are the famous leader of the Black Iron Outpost and the beginning of all this. What do you think about this? At this moment, Lin Chen knew that he had become the key to this game. His attitude will directly affect the oblique direction of the balance. If he supports the army, he will offend Yi Lu and the players behind him. If he supports Yi Lu, he will be ashamed of his own and hand over the foundation he has built. This is a difficult decision. Lin Chen stood up and glanced calmly over everyone present. Instead of answering the city lord's question first, he asked, "City lord, please ask, what is the biggest threat of the Black Iron Outpost?" This question stunned everyone. Gawain said with a brow, "Of course, it is a monster from the rustic forest and the cursed swamp." "It's right," Lin Chen pointed out, "but whether it's the kingdom's regular army or the elite group of the guilds, the number of people is ultimately limited. The development of Black Iron Outposts will attract thousands of ordinary adventurers. They are the main forces that will guard the outposts and open mines in the future." He set his voice up a little. "My opinion is that professional things should be handed over to professionals. The army is responsible for guarding the fortresses and resisting large-scale invasions of monsters. The daily mining and security maintenance of outposts can be open to all seekers with good reputation and practical strength in the form of commission tasks. In this way, it can not only inspire the aggressiveness of the adventurers, but also bring constant vitality and taxes to the outposts. The kingdom does not need to pay a soldier or a copper plate to enjoy the fruits. As for all explorers can freely bring the mines produced to the city of origin and trade on the official exchanges, and those with higher prices will receive them. This not only ensures the fairness of the market, but also ensures that the kingdom can obtain sufficient mine supply at the most reasonable price." Lin Chen's words were called NPC version of PPP model, public-private partnership, and profit sharing. This is a completely new solution that goes beyond everyone's thinking. It neither turned completely to the army, maintained the respect and guidance of the NPC, it did not take advantage of Yi Lin, breaking his family's unique plan of failure. Most importantly, it divided the interests into a large group of ordinary players, winning the potential people's hearts for itself. This is a nearly perfect breakthrough. As the voice fell, the whole meeting room was silent. Gawain stretched his tightly locked eyebrows, revealing a thoughtful look. The smile on Yi Yang's face disappeared for the first time, replaced by an extreme depression. He never expected that this NPC's brain was equipped with such a tricky and meticulous plan. And the city lord Bald, who was in the main position, looked at Lin Chen's eyes and an unprecedented light burst out. He slapped the table suddenly and laughed. "Okay. What a commission mission. What a fair deal. Lin Chen, you really didn't disappoint. Just as you said." The city lord Bald's final statement made the atmosphere in the meeting hall reverse instantly. Gawain looked at Lin Chen with a rare smile on his fierce scar face. He looked at Lin Chen with a lot of heads, obviously very satisfied with this plan that not only protected the interests of the kingdom but excluded the adventurers. And those civil servants who were still politely agreed at this moment, praising Lin Chen's wisdom. On the entire round table, there was only one person's face as dark as a bottom, and that was the Leaf. The chess game he carefully planned was cracked in this way by Lin Chen. He wanted to use the relationship network he established at the NPC high level to win the exclusive right to black iron mining, and to establish unrivaled resource advantages in the early stages of the game. But now, Lin Chen's plan cut this piece of cake that he had eaten alone into countless small pieces and divided it with everyone. Although he can still get the biggest share with his strength, compared with the entire mine, the returns are very different. What made him feel even more frustrated was that Lin Chen's plan stood on the commanding heights of morality and rules, and he could not find any reason for his opposition. Could it be that he wants to say publicly, "I object to fairness, I just need to be defeated"? That will make him and the Blade Guild the guild of all players. Yi Lu took a deep breath, suppressed the anger in his heart, and once again put a smile on his face that was more difficult to see than crying. Mr. Lin Chen's proposal is indeed, he is thoughtful and far-reaching. When we break the Xiaogui, we naturally want to abide by the city lord's decisions and contribute to the prosperity of the Black Iron Outpost. This sentence is almost taken out of the tooth. Lin Chen felt secretly happy when he looked at his expression of eating. He knew that this time he would finish his own victory. Not only did he retain the control of the Black Iron Outpost, he also successfully felt sick of Yi Lu, and then gained a lot of favorability at the core level of the power of the city of origin. The meeting soon ended in a harmonious atmosphere. The city lord Bard ordered the bookkeeper to immediately draft a detailed bill on the management and mining of black outposts based on Lin Chen's proposal, and to establish a Black Outpost Management Committee jointly organized by the military, the government hall and Lin Chen, which is responsible for the implementation of specific matters. Lin Chen, this NPC who was still Moluo at the entrance of the village a few days ago, is now legitimately located in the power center of this main city. After the meeting ended, the crowd left the seat. When Yi Lian passed Lin Chen, he stopped walking and said coldly in a voice that only two of them could hear, "You are very smart, Lin Chen. But you better remember that in this world, just being smart is not enough. Without real wisdom, you will only die faster." "Thank you, President Yi, for your reminder. I will remember it." Lin Chen responded with a smile, without any fear in his eyes. Who will not threaten? Lin Chen is no longer the little character who can be controlled by others. After Yi Luo left, the military minister Gao Wen also left. He patted Lin Chen on the shoulder. The force was so strong that Lin Chen felt that his bones were all over. "Boy, you're very fucked. I admire you very much. What troubles will happen in the city in the future, especially those short-sighted adventurers who want to find you, so you can come to the army to find me anytime. This is a kind show of kindness and a strong promise." Lin Chen knew that he had successfully won an important ally. "Thank you, the army." After seeing everyone off, only Lin Chen and the city lord Bald were left in the office. "They are all gone, now we can talk about the real thing." The majestic smile on the lord's face was taken in, replaced by a deep solemnity. Lin Chen felt a stir in his heart, knowing that the real situation has only really begun now. Lin Chen, the city lord, walked to the huge glass window, stood with his hands, looking at the bustling city outside the window. "Do you know why I agree with your seemingly outrageous plan? Because it is the most beneficial to the kingdom?" Lin Chen answered tentatively. "That is only part of the reason." The city lord shook his head. "More importantly, I need a new force to balance the increasingly out-of-control situation in the city. A force that does not belong to the traditional nobility, does not belong to the military, nor to those greedy adventurers' guild." His gaze turned to Lin Chen, his eyes becoming exceptionally sharp. "And you, a mainline character who is not bound by any faction, yet can guide countless adventurers, are the most suitable candidate." Lin Chen's heart skipped a beat. He finally understood the city lord's true intention. He was not trying to reward himself, nor to discuss with him, he was investing. He wanted to cultivate himself into his spokesperson in the adventurer community, a pawn to counter players like Yi Tsang. What a clever imperial strategy. "I understand what the city lord means," Lin Chen said calmly. "Becoming a pawn is not scary, what is scary is having no value to be utilized. As long as there is value, there is bargaining chips for negotiation. You are very smart." The city lord nodded in approval. "So I can tell you some secrets that even General Gao Wen and Yi Tsang do not know." He paused, his tone becoming extremely serious. "Do you think the appearance of the black iron or vein is just a coincidental discovery? Do you think those increasingly active monsters are just ordinary ecological changes? Isn't it?" "No." A trace of worry flashed in the city lord's eyes. "According to the oldest secret records of the royal family, every time black iron appears in the world, it foretells a great disaster. The energy emitted by the black iron or vein will awaken the ancient evil sleeping deep underground. The monster rampage in Whispering Forest and Cursed Swamp is just the beginning. A dark tide sweeping the entire continent is brewing." Lin Chen's brain buzzed. This is absolutely the core main storyline of Apocalypse Era. In the previous life, this plot was slowly unveiled by an epic quest half a year after the game launched. But now, because of his appearance, everything seems to have been greatly advanced. So, I need you." The city lord interrupted him, his tone sincere. "I need you to use your special identity to unite those potential adventurers, guide them to become stronger, and make them become the barrier against the dark tide in the future. Although Yi Tsang's Dawn Guild is powerful, they are too focused on interests and cannot be fully trusted. I need a force that truly fights to protect this continent." As he spoke, he took out a simple badge from his bosom and handed it to Lin Chen. The badge was cast from black iron, engraved with the city emblem of the initial city and a crossed sword and staff. "This is the Kingdom Pioneer badge," the city lord said solemnly. "With it, you can bypass most tedious approvals and directly issue official high-level commissions to adventurers, even form your own adventurer team. All I can give you is these permissions and support. How far you can go and how much power you can gather depends on yourself." Lin Chen took the heavy badge, feeling that what he received was not just an item, but a heavy responsibility and a huge opportunity. "You have accepted the hidden mainline quest, the prelude to the Dark Tide. Quest objective: before the full outbreak of the Dark Tide, enhance the overall strength of adventurers as much as possible and establish a trustworthy core force. Quest reward?" Looking at the 3 question marks on the quest panel, Lin Chen knew that this would be a long and difficult path. When leaving the city lord's mansion, Lin Chen's mood could not calm down for a long time. He walked on the bustling streets of the initial city, looking at the players coming and going around him, unaware of the impending crisis, and for the first time felt the sense of mission as a mainline NPC. He opened the friend list, and that only gray avatar was still there. He sent a message to Tsang. "I got an interesting badge that can issue some official commissions. Are you interested in being my first pioneer?" He did not immediately go to find that nameless one in the sewer. He had more important things to do. He wanted to use the authority given by the city lord to release a quest. A quest that would make all players in the initial city go crazy and also allow him to screen out the first batch of core members. He walked to the task bulletin board in the center of the city and pressed the Kingdom Pioneer badge on it. A golden light flashed, and a new, top-pinned, dark gold glowing quest appeared before all players. Epic Level Pioneer Quest, The Call of the Abyss. Issuer, The Guide of Fate Lin Chen. Mission description: a dark air from deep underground is invading the ancient waterway below the city of origin. The city guards could not penetrate it. Recruit the bravest adventurers, team up to the deepest point of the sewer, find out the source of darkness, and bring back the contaminated core samples. Mission requirements: level 10 or above, the team configuration is reasonable. Mission award: the first team to complete the mission will receive the Kingdom Blazer's name, and will receive the personal reception and mysterious award from Lord Lin Chen. The entire urban building was in full swing at the moment of the mission. Damn. Sure pose mission. Boss Lin Chen found it. The sewer? Are there only rats and stinky mud monsters there? Is there such hidden plot? Set up team. Come to T, come to Breast, thugs above level 10. The deepest point in the target sewer. Looking at the announcement column that was instantly surrounded by countless players, Lin Chen smiled. The game is getting more and more fun. He knew that at the deepest point of the sewer, not only was the nameless who he prepared for as a swallow, but also a real-world boss polluted by the atmosphere of darkness. His first big show is about to open. The pure call: this historical and simplified mission is like a huge rock smashing into the player circle of the original city, causing thousands of waves. The mission is released by Xinqiang's legendary NPC Lin Chen. The mission location is an urban sewer that everyone unexpectedly believes, and the award is the incomparable King Blazer's name and mysterious prize. These several elements combined together instantly ignited the enthusiasm of all players above level 10 in an instant. For a while, the sewer entrance of the city of Initial became a place that was more hiding than any hot training point. There were countless teams that were temporarily organized, clamoring at the entrance, terrifying to try their first move. Come to a powerful T, you have to be able to withstand the 15th level elite monsters. Our team has powerful magicians. I'm a little short of a titty, and I'm better off detoxifying. I heard that there's poisonous atmosphere below. Are there any assassins ban? Please ask for an AA system that will open the trap and dismantle good things according to your career needs. However, these confident teams were slapped in the face quickly. The sewer of the city of Initial is not as simple as they imagined. Not only are there level-high attacks, poisonous mutant rats and rotten slime, but what is even more disgusting is that the whole map is like a huge mist, with forks, dead ends, hidden doors, and traps. Not long after many teams entered, they were lost in the road, or were beaten by a wave of monsters that suddenly emerged from the water, losing their experience and durability in the equipment. Only an hour later, the resurrection temple in the city was full of people, all players lifted from the sewer, one with a sagging head, and a map designer was too strong to be a human being. How can I get to this ghost place? I've been wandering for a long time and returned to the same place. Those rat attacks bring bleeding effects, and the mother can't even add it. Mom, I stepped on a trap and dropped half of my blood, and I also hit a speed reduction debuff, and then I was destroyed. Lin Chen saw the players wailing. He did not stay in the city lord's mansion, but instead found an inconspicuous corner and observed everything silently. This is exactly what he wanted. He wants to use this high-difficulty task to eliminate ordinary players who only want to shoot the ball and filter out truly powerful, brain strength and perseverance. He believes that two people will surely emerge from this chaotic elimination match. One is, the other is. As expected, just as most of the casual players were still slamming on the first level of the sewer, the two well-equipped and tacitly cooperated with each other were already pushing deeper. One of them is naturally the elite group of the Blade Shao Guild led by Yi Luo. They have 20 people, forming two standard team configurations. One team is the main attacker and the other team replaces. The warriors were in front, the wizards and archers gathered fires in the back, and the pastors and the saints carried out treatment and driving negatively in an orderly manner. They obviously did a lot of work, and even had special scoundrels to explore the road and mine clearance in front. Although the push speed was not fast, it was unusually stable. And the other team looked a little single. Because there is only one person in that team. Show. He was alone, like a ghost, shuttled through the dark and damp sewer. His speed was amazing. Facing the monsters that were swept from the dark, he could always avoid fatal attacks with the minimum range of movement. The short sword in his hand was like the fangs of a poisonous snake, which could accurately penetrate the monster's key points. Through a special mainline NPC perspective, Lin Chen can switch to observe several key task participants. He looked at the pushing Radovan and couldn't help but secretly point it. This guy not only has top-notch operations, but his game IQ is even more terrifyingly high. He did not be as chaotic as other players, but instead judged the correct direction of progress by observing the flow of water on the wall and the flow of wind in the air. This is a top-level player with a strong insight into the game environment. Just after Shoulder solved an elite fisherman, he stopped. In front of him was a seemingly ordinary stone wall, but at the corner of the wall, there was a brick with a color that was darker than the surrounding ones. Zhang walked forward, reached out and knocked on several tiles on the wall in a specific order. Just a click sound, the stone wall slid slowly to one side, revealing a downward, deeper passage. At the entrance of the passage, a figure with a hunched man with his body covered in a broken cloak was standing there quietly. There was no name or identity at the top of the figure, only 3 blood-red questions. No name. You're here. The figure made a sound of hissing, like 2 pieces of sand rubbing. I heard you, the same breath. I longed for strength, but I didn't want to be the ones that were called light and glory. You didn't say anything, just looked at him quietly. If you want to gain power from me, you must first prove your worth to me. The nameless person raised his head slowly, and under his cloaked eyes with red light appeared. Go to the deepest part of this waterway, where there is a sluggish cyst that has been polluted by the deep purity. Kill it, or be killed by it. Only those who come back alive have the qualifications to inherit my Tao. After speaking, the figure of the nameless man turned into a black smoke and disappeared into the darkness of the passage. In front of, a task prompt was popped up for him. Hidden career transfer mission, only trial of an unknown person. Mission goal, kill the final leader of the sewer polluted Kraken. Look glanced at the mission, without any hesitation, turned around and walked into the secret passage leading to a deeper point. At the same time, the leaf on the other side also broke through the second level of the sewer through the advantages of the population and excellent guidance, and came to a huge iron gate locked by the iron chain. Children, there is no way ahead. A mess came forward to report. Yilin glanced at the eyebrows. He looked at the iron door full of strange runes and told him that the boss was finally behind the door. But he tried various methods and could not open the door. There is a keyhole in this door, and we need to find the key. Just as they were inexplicably exposed, a member of the guild suddenly exclaimed, "President, look at the forum." Someone posted a post saying that in a hidden room on the second floor of the sewer, a prisonered NPC spirit was found. The spirit gave him a key and said something nonsense about Kraken. Yi Yang's eyes lit up instantly. He immediately ordered, "Everyone, please look for it. You must find that NPC before stop and get the key." The competition of the final boss opening key was fiercely open on the second floor of the sewer. And all of this was in Lin Chen's prediction. He deliberately designed two routes. One is prepared for the sweep of a single act. Through explanation and observation, you can directly find the hidden instructor and contact the person to try it out. Another point is prepared for players of this team, and they need to step by step by finding the threads and rescuing the NPCs. He wants these two strongest forces to have a head-on collision in front of the final boss. Lin Chen switched his eyes and watched the team searching wildly in the sewer like headless bolts. He looked at the lift that had already stepped into the third level and was moving forward calmly towards his final goal. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He knew that a good show was about to happen. He himself did not take it easy, but turned away from the observation point and walked towards the auction in the city. He just obtained 1,000 gold coins from the city lord. He didn't plan to let it get moldy in the bag. He is going to buy something and make some small preparations for the next possible stimulus. He is a mainline NPC and does not intend to be just a quiet behind-the-scenes publisher. When necessary, he must also follow the scene and promote the direction of the plot. When he walked to the door of the shooting selling, he suddenly stopped. He saw a familiar figure coming out from inside, the president of the Blade Guild, Yi Wang. Lin Chen immediately responded that this was Yi Lang's shadow warrior, or his vice president's level. The Bo Shalwi Association is rich and powerful, and it is obvious that the troops are divided into two groups, one by one, and the other is auctioning the sales outlet outside, collecting various useful materials. The vice president was in a hurry, holding a list in his hand, and was giving instructions to the buyer around him, all detoxification drugs, sacred water, and axes that increase dark resistance are as much as you want. The price is not a problem. Quick! It seems that they also realized that the monsters deep in the sewer were not easy to deal with. Lin Chen kept his body away from his voice, and only walked in after they entered. He did not go to see the drugs and rolls, but walked straight to a remote cabinet in the material area. "Hello, I need some high-purity silver powder, and fragments of sanctuary magic crystal. Lin Chen said to the NPC behind the counter, "How many are there? I want as much." These two things are almost useless for current stage players. Silver powder is a high-level enchantment material, and the sandalite magic crystal is the core of the later used to make light magic weapons. But in Lin Chen's knowledge library, these two things are mixed together, and with special adjustments, they can create a sanctuary blast that has a destructive force against dead spirits and deep pure creatures. This is a great gift he prepared for the final boss, the polluted Kraken. In the auction, Lin Chen spent almost half of the gold coins paid by the city lord, and swept all the silver powder and Santa crystal fragments on the market. These garbage materials that seem useless in the current stage players will soon become aces that can change the game. The bag was packed with full of raw materials, and Lin Chen did not rush back, but started shopping in the city of origin. He was like a real tourist, flowing across various functional areas, and at the moment he was able to feel the heat of iron blood. At the moment he looked up under the magic tower, thinking about the elemental flowing veins. What he did was not aimless. Every time he stays, he uses the Eye of Insight to observe and analyze. He observed the patrol routes of those NPC soldiers, analyzed their equipment configuration and practical level. He observed the behavior patterns of those players, and saw where they like to take over the mission, where they trade, and where conflicts arise. He is learning, absorbing, and transforming this lively world of game into a part of himself. After becoming the main character, he found that he was like a huge sea, which could constantly draw information and gain points from this world to improve his database and improve his wisdom. This is a kind of diversionary growth, which is more important than simply improving the level. Just as he walked to a small building near the south gate of the city, his footsteps stopped. He saw an unexpected person, Alice. The mysterious silver-haired girl was sitting on the edge of a spring, holding a string of candied haws in her hand, eating with relish, without any stunning appearance as a world-class NPC, but instead was like a human girl playing. Seeing Lin Chen approaching, Ellie waved to him, with a little sugar on the corner of her mouth. "Hey, our great fate leader, don't go to your city lord's mansion to have tea. Why are you here to wander around? Come out and have a walk and get to know your new city." Lin Chen sat down beside her and replied in a word. He knew that every appearance of Ellie would not be a simple coincidence. "Oh? Is that?" Ellie bit off a hawthorn and said vaguely, "I thought you were waiting for the result." "What result?" Lin Chen pretended to be puzzled. "Don't put it on." Ellie gave him a blank look. "You made such a big battle and brought all the elite players in the city into the sewer. Isn't you just want to see a scene? Let me guess. Are you trying to make that ice block called come to a fateful battle with the arrogant maniac named Yi Luo in front of the boss?" Lin Chen felt a little confused. This Alice seemed to have opened the full picture of God's vision, and every step of her plan seemed to be invisible to her eyes. "Your script is well written," Ellie said leisurely, "but you seem to have overlooked a very important variable." "Variable?" "Yes." Alice's eyes suddenly became deeper, no longer the innocent and romantic look. "Do you think that Kraken, who was polluted by deep purity, is just a single collection of data, a wooden trellis waiting for the player to knock down? The power of deep purity is much more cunning than you imagined." Lin Chen's heart sank. There was something in Ellie's words, and she seemed to be suggesting that the boss in the sewer might have some unknown risks beyond the usual game settings. "What's the meaning?" "That's it." Ellie finished her last candied haws and threw the bamboo label away. The bamboo label passed an elegant arc in the air and fell into the trash can accurately. A scene, if there are too few actors, it will be boring. Sometimes, it needs some viewers who don't ask for their own help to make the code more exciting. She stood up, patted the pleats on her skirt, and blinked playfully at Lin Chen. "As far as I say, please enjoy your premiere," directed by Lin Chen. "I hope the ending will not disappoint you too much." After saying that, she hummed an indecent little song, turned around and smuggled into the crowd, disappearing and disappearing. Lin Chen sat in place with his eyebrows tightly locked. Ellie's words were like a group of mists, covering his originally clear plan with an indeterminate shadow. "Don't you ask for viewers? Who would that be?" He switched the angle to the sewer again. At this time, after paying a huge price, Yi Lu's team finally found the NPC spirit locked by the iron chain in a secret room. After a conversation, they successfully got the ancient key to open the final boss room. "Hurry! Everyone, rest on the spot for 5 minutes, take medicine to improve your condition. Get ready for the boss." Yi Lian's voice echoed in the team channel, full of excitement and determination to win. Although they are one step slower than Sweep, they have the absolute advantage of being a good person. The elite group of 20 people will knock down a historical boss in a newbie area. Isn't it easy to win? On the other side, the Zhang was already standing alone in front of the huge iron door. He does not have a key, but he has the qualifications to give to the no-name. He reached out his hand and pressed it lightly on the door. The door, which was locked by the iron chain and runes, opened itself without any noise in front of him. Behind the door is a huge and incomparable circular cave. In the center of the cave is a green and scented pool. In the pool, a large black shadow was squirming. It was a magical stitch monster. It has a huge head like a squid and slippery touch, and its body is like a bloated and long armored shell. In the gaps of the armored shell, some human-like twisted and squeezing limbs can be seen, as if countless creatures are wielding together. On its head, there were long blood-red names on its top. Deep Purification Polluter Kraken, Story Leader. Zhang held the short sword in his hand tightly, his eyes were cold, without any fear. Just as he was about to step into the cave, a messy sound came from behind him. Yilu brought his breaking Occupy Guild elite group and arrived from another channel. When Yi Lian saw that he was standing alone at the door of the boss and had already opened the door, his face became extremely difficult to see. "It's you again." Yi Lian's voice was filled with uncontrollable anger. "How could you probably be faster than us?" Shou didn't even look back, and walked straight into the boss's room and answered him with action. In the boss battle, once a player enters the battle area, he will immediately touch it. "Don't die. You can't let him kill the first kill." Yi Lian roared, "Everyone, come in with me. Don't worry about the boss for now, concentrate on the fire and let that shoulder be instantly." In his opinion, there is only one person in. No matter how good the operation is, there is only a dead end to the concentration of 20 of them. As long as he is killed, the boss's first killing authority will still be theirs. The members of the Breaking the Holy Guild responded immediately, and the wizards began to chant fireball arts and ice arrows. The archers also pulled the long bow, attacking countless times, and swung their heads towards the back of the. However, just as these attacks were about to hit, the figure of Zhang suddenly became blurred and turned into a virtual shadow that could not be captured, flashing most of the attacks from an incredible angle. Several leaked fish hit him, and only a few injuries appeared. At the same time, the shocked boss Kraken let out a deafening roar. Its countless touching hands were like a long whip, and they suddenly pulled out of the pool and swept towards all the invaders. A chaotic battle broke out. Lin Chen was shocked when he saw it outside. The situation in the battle was much more complicated than he expected. Shou is like a top-notch sword dancer, turning between the boss's touch and the player's skills. Not only do it to avoid most attacks, but it can also seize the gap and cause effective damage to the boss. But the double boxing is difficult to fight against four hands, the boss's attack range is too large, the firepower of the Yeli team is indeed very strong, and the S health is also slowly and continuously decreasing. Just when the battle was in a stalemate and the three parties were consuming each other, the strange thing suddenly arose. The NPC spirit, which was originally found by the Yeli team, was able to be removed by the key, somehow even entered the boss room. He did not attack anyone, but flew straight to the center of the pool, and then a sad long man burst out, turning into a pure dark energy, and as much as possible, he integrated into Kraken's body. 4. Masters, return. With the injection of this energy, Kraken's body shape exploded again, and the veins on his body ruptured, and ink-green venom flowed out. Its bloodline instantly regained, and the back of its name also quietly changed from historical leader to a word that made everyone feel numb. Deep Purification Polluter Kraken, World Leader, Incomplete. Boss, in the battle, has been upgraded. Lin Chen's brain buzzed, and he finally understood what variables and watchers who don't ask for their own meant by Ellie. That NPC ghost is not a tool for guiding missions at all, but a chess piece buried by deep and pure force, a sacrifice to strengthen the boss. This has completely exceeded Lin Chen's script. World-level bosses, even if they are just incomplete, are definitely not something that players at this stage can compete with. Sure enough, after the evolution of Kraken, the fighting power changed drastically. Its touching hands swept over, broke the warriors in the front row of the guild, and they were directly exhausted with shields, and the blood strip was instantly cleared. Retreat! Retreat quickly! Yi Lian shouted in surprise, and he finally realized that they had been involved in an existence that they could not afford to offend. But, it's too late. Kraken's change made the entire battle situation instantly turn from a stalemate to a single murder. The power of world-class bosses is not something that players at this stage can bear. The proud elite group of the Black's Guild was as fragile as paper in front of the evolved Kraken. Every time the huge touch dances, it is accompanied by the player's cry of turning into white light. The venom shot from the boss like a rain spot, landed on the ground, making a sizzling sound, and the blood volume of the player it touched was even more visible to the naked eye. In just a few 10 seconds, the 20-man team brought by Yi Luo had already fallen down half. Stay on the top. The pastor brushes blood for tea. Everyone is scattered. Don't stand together. Yi Lian pointed at the top of his voice, but he himself was already alive. A touching hand wiped his body and took away 1/3 of his blood, which made his face look pale. The exquisite equipment he is proud of does not play much role in the face of absolute attribute pressure. He knew that this time was over. Not only is the honor of the first killing gone, the elite power of the entire guild probably will be removed from the equipment here, which will be a huge disaster. His heart was filled with regret and resentment. The initiator of all this was Lin Chen. What he issued was not a historical mission at all, but a scattered trap. And in the center of this storm, the situation of is also in danger. He was alone and suffered double pressure from the boss and the remaining members of the boss. Although Yi Lian has ordered a retreat, there are always a few players who are red-eyed and have to put their skills on him before they die. The figure of is as fast as a ghost, shuttled through the gap between touch and magic, and realized his own flashing skills to the extreme. But he was not a god. The boss's attack range was too large. He was hit by the end of his touch for several times, and his health had fallen below 1/3 of the danger line. He glanced at the chaotic battle, then at the big, almost impossible battle, and a silly look appeared in his eyes for the first time. Reason told him that the best choice now was to retreat immediately and give up this impossible transfer task. If you keep the Green Mountains there, you won't be afraid of losing firewood. But just as he was about to retreat, his eyes glared at the corners of his eyes and he glanced at the boss Kraken's back like a shell. There, among the countless pieces that were put into it, there was a face full of pain and pleading that belonged to human women. That look touched a string deep in his heart. He stopped his retreating steps and made a decision that everyone unexpectedly had. Not only did he retreat, he instead made a desperate attempt to attack Kraken's body. He wants to bet, and the human face he has passed by is the weakness of this monster. Has he been crazy? When only a few remaining guild players saw this scene, they thought sweeping was a relinquishment and were ready to kill themselves. The speed of was extremely high. He flipped several times and evaded the 2 touching slugs in surprise. The whole person rushed under Kraken's body like a stringed arrow. Then, he stomped on the ground and rushed up with a force. The short sword in his hand drew a cold light in the air, stabbing hard at the armored shell where the human face was. Shock! A sound of metal crunch, the short sword was blown open by the hard shell, and the show was shocked by the huge reaction force and fell heavily to the ground, leaving another piece of blood. Failed. It's not a weakness there. Kraken was very angry by his picking, and all his touchers gave up and attacked the others, smashing them down at the fallen shoulder. It's over. This is the only thought in the brains of all survivors at this moment. And just like this, a figure that no one expected appeared at the entrance of the boss room. It's Lin Chen. He had changed his clothes and put on a pair of leather armor that looked very ordinary, and was holding a handful of fair and indifferent long sword in his hand. This equipment was a whiteboard stock he bought just in the auction market and was thrown on the ground without anyone picking it up. It seems that the end of my premiere really needs to be slightly modified. Lin Chen looked at the thought in front of him and murmured. Without any hesitation, he took out a metal ball just made and radiating a faint sacred light from his bag. Sanda Silver Blast. Hey, Dajang Fish! Look here! Lin Chen roared and threw the sacred silver bomb in his hand towards Kraken's huge head with all his strength. His appearance attracted everyone's attention. It's Lin Chen. That NPC. Yi Lian shouted in a silence. How did he come here? Is an NPC coming to this place to die? Kraken obviously noticed this new threat, which split 2 touches and sucked towards the sacred silver bomb in the air, trying to knock it down. But the angle and time that Lin Chen threw out were calculated to be as good as the peak. The Santa Crom flew over the edge of a touching hand and landed accurately on the top of Kraken. Still. A deep explosion sounded, and then, a group of silver-white light, which was extremely dazzling, burst out with the head of the boss as the center. The light was filled with sacred and hot, full of the destructive power against evil creatures. Roar! Kraken let out a stern howl. The sound is no longer the previous powerful roar, but is filled with pain from the depths of his soul. The silver-white sacred flames burned on it, simmering its ink-green skin, and black smoke emerged. A terrifying injury number flew from its head. Minus 50,000. 50,000. A number that makes all players' eyes almost pop out. This explosion actually directly exploded nearly 1/10 of the world-class boss's health. Everyone was stunned. Yi Lian's mouth widened and could not believe his eyes. That seemingly ordinary metal ball actually has such terrifying power? How many secrets does this NPC named Lin Chen hide? The who fell to the ground also raised his head and looked at everything in shock. Taking advantage of the short gap between Klaken's pain and stiffness, Lin Chen did not stop. The two sacred silvers exploded and hit the two sides of the boss's body. It was another two dramatic explosions and two dazzling sacred lights. Klaken's health fell again, and his entire body twitched violently due to the drama pain, and his breathing touch became inconsistent. "It's now!" Lin Chen shouted in the direction of, "Attack its abdomen. The shell connects the weakest part." Shou instantly understood Lin Chen's idea. He slapped a fish and flipped it up from the ground, not only taking into account the amount of blood left, but he started to slam it again. This time, his goal was no longer the back, but the huge belly that Krakina slightly raised due to the twitch. That is where the monster moves the intersection period, and it is also the weakest ring for shell defense. The figure was like electric, shuttled under Kraken's crazy twisting body, and accurately found the gap in the armored shell. He poured all his strength into the short sword in his hand, and even a faint red light appeared on the blade. This was a special force given to him by the No-Nameless. "Break!" He growled, and the short sword turned into a stream of light, piercing into the gap. Puff! This time, it is no longer the crispness of metallic interaction, but the deep sound of sharp blades entering the flesh. Most of the short drama was not included in Kraken's body. Roar! Klaken released the last sarcastic sound before his death. Its big body suddenly froze, and then collapsed like a mountain of gold and jade pillars, causing dust and water to spread all over the sky. The entire cave fell into a silence like death in an instant. Then, a system announcement that was brighter and more powerful than any previous one was like a thunderbolt, exploding in the ears of every player. World-class first killing announcement. With the help of NPC Lin Chen, the player Zhang successfully killed the world-class leader of Sky Enlightenment Deep Purification polluter Kraken. Their heroism will be permanently loaded into the history. The announcement of the world-class first killing was like a nuclear bullet, which was detonated among the entire player group of Sky Creation Yuan. The countless players who were practicing, doing tasks, and going shopping stopped their actions at the moment they heard the announcement, and their bodies fell into petrochemical conditions. I didn't hear anything wrong, did I? World-class boss? Was he killed? What a joke! The server has only been open for a few days now. Most people don't know where the doors of historical poetry copy are opened. It's shoulder again. And that NPC Lin Chen. Are these two people the sons of the system? This is unscientific. A player and an NPC fucked a world-class boss? This is even more alien than a tree on a female pig. The forum exploded instantly, and the first post about this killing was refreshed at a speed of hundreds per second. Unlimited doubts, shocks, admiration and jealousy have once again pushed the names in Lin Chen. They are no longer a single game celebrity, but have become a living legend, an existence that all players need to look up to. And at the center of the event, in the cave of the sewer, the atmosphere is a very quiet place. Yi Lu and his 2 or 3 remaining subordinates stood blankly in place like puppets whose souls were removed. They witnessed this incredible scene with their eyes, and their brains were completely unable to process the information in front of them. The elite team they were proud of was crushed to death by the boss, and their despised individuals and an NPC completed the godlike impotence in front of them in a way that could be called a god. This huge impact almost destroyed Yi Lang's arrogant self-esteem. His eyes when he looked at Lin Chen and were no longer the slight contempt and enemies he had before, but turned into a complex emotion mixed with fear, awe, and deep sense of powerlessness. For the first time, he realized that he and these two people might not be playing the same game at all. The large body of Klaken is slowly turning into light and dissipating. With its death, the deep and purplish breath in the entire cave faded away. Instead, there are massive amounts of trophies, like a hill, exploding from the place where the boss fell, flashing with 5 colors of light. The orange light represents the historical items, the purple light represents the historical level, and the blue light represents the exquisite level. The pile of mountains of war spoils almost filled the entire cave, which made Yi Lian and others' eyes red. But none of them dared to step forward. Because, beside the loot, 2 people stood. Lin Chen let out a breath and felt that the strength in his body was almost exhausted. The few operations just now seemed simple, and consumed all his energy and computing power. He walked to the side of and patted his shoulder. "Fuck pretty." Zhang's chest was still undulating, and his blood was only the last piece of blood skin, which might fall down at any time. But he stood straight, his eyes were still cold, but when he looked at Lin Chen, there seemed to be a little more difficult to detect under the ice layer. "So too." He pulled out 3 words from his teether. This was his first time, and he gave Lin Chen a positive affirmation. At this moment, a series of system prompts swept the screen in front of 2 of them at the same time. "Congratulations to the player shoulder, you have completed the hidden job transfer mission Trial of the Unknown. You have obtained the unique hidden profession Shadow Blade Digger. All your basic attributes are improved, and you have learned the passive weakness insight of the job core and the active skill Shadow." At the same time, Lin Chen's panel also sent a thick reply. "Congratulations. You lead the initiative and participate in killing the world leader, and your main plot contribution has been greatly increased. Acquired experience value, 20,000 points. Congratulations. Your level is upgraded to LV6. Congratulations. Your level is upgraded to LV7. Your special number, the Leader of Destiny, has been upgraded. New name effect, the tasks you issue will increase the attractiveness of players by 30%. The plot events you lead have a high probability of world-class impact. You have the right to pay a temporary show ring to specific NPCs or players. Your special skill Eye of Insight has been upgraded to view more detailed information about the target and have an extremely low probability of seeing through the other party's define clothes or foolish pictures. Upgrade to 2 levels. Lin Chen felt the new power of moving inside his body and felt relieved. More importantly, the new ability of the Showing Light is simply a magical skill. This means that he can add buff to his tool person, which will play a crucial role in the future. The 2 were digesting their own harvest, and a black shadow appeared behind them without a sound. It is the hidden instructor, the unnamed. He looked at the body of Kraken on the ground, and then looked at the limb that was almost as dry as oil. The eyes of the ape showed a look of satisfaction for the first time. Not bad. You are qualified to follow my Tao. He stretched out a thin finger and pointed it at the Tao. A black stream of light flowed into the body of the, and his blood and exhausted energy were all filled in an instant. Then, the no-nameless turned his eyes to Lin Chen again. His eyes were complicated, astonished, curious, and deeply jealous. You are not adventurers, nor are you in this world. He said, you have the smell of variables. A variety of variables that even heavenly cannot be fully controlled. Lin Chen felt a little confused. This NPC's perception was too sensitive. The unnamed one did not delve into it, but just snorted coldly, I've been killed, you have completed the trial for my fellow disciples. I have recorded this favor. This pile of garbage is a bonus for you. The trash he called refers to the pile of historical and historical equipment on the ground that can make players all servers crazy. After saying that, his figure turned into black smoke again and disappeared. It was not until this time that Lin Chen had time to view their battle spoils. It is worthy of being the first killing of a world-class boss, and the things that are dropped can be described as luxury. There are 3 pieces of orange outfits alone. One is a dagger for an assassin, the other is a wizard's robe, and the other is a leather armored leg suitable for all physics professions. Shadow Tooth, Trace Dagger, a brief attribute. Attached special effects. There is a certain chance of touching the bleed effect when attacking, and the armor is protected without target. The robe of the deep and purified robe, translated by the long robe, the nature is simple. Attached special effects, increases the damage of shadow spells, and when you cast spells, there is a certain chance to generate a shadow shield that absorbs damage. Klaken's leg armor, traditional leather armor, slightly attributed. Attached special effects, greatly improves movement speed and flash avoidance rate, and reduces damage from underwater organisms. The show's eyes were locked on the dagger Shadow Tooth at the first time. This weapon is simply tailor-made for his new career, Shadow Blade Potter. Lin Chen smiled, knowing that would definitely choose this one. He looked at the leather-armored leg, which was more suitable for him, a savage fighter who needed to move around with a flexible position. We each have one piece of dagger and leg protection. Lin Chen made the assignment. As for this robe. He glanced at Yi Lian, who was still dazed far away, and had an idea in his mind. He picked up the deep purple skin robe and walked straight towards Yi Luo. When Yi Lian saw Lin Chen coming, he took a step back subconsciously, his eyes full of vigilance. Leader Yi, Lin Chen threw the robe in his hand and smiled warmly on his face. I just put more members of the Privileged Association and helped us consume a large amount of boss's health so that we can succeed. If this spoil is not respected, it is my personal, a small compensation for the Privileged Association's victim. Yi Wang was stunned for a moment. He looked at the robe in front of him with orange light, then looked at Lin Chen's smile that was so sincere that he could not see the brokenness, and his brain was in a mess. Of course, Lin Chen didn't really want to show kindness. He has three purposes for this. First, differentiation and breaking the guild. Putting a top-level wizard to Yi Lian will inevitably cause dissatisfaction among other professional players in his guild, laying a life for his future management. Second, stingy leaves. It made him feel that he was not unreasonable, or perhaps there was a possibility of cooperation, thereby reducing his vigor and defense against him. Third, and most important. This robe comes with a shadow magic damage bonus. The power of deep impurity is essentially the ultimate manifestation of the power of shadow. He was like a poisonous medicine wrapped in sugar to Yi Lian's core wizard team. In the future, when the dark frenzy really comes, it is hard to say what these wizards who rely too much on the power of shadow will become. This is a chess step, a deep buried pen. Yi Lu's face was sunny and he took the robe and felt a heavy feeling in his hand. He wanted to say something, but found that he couldn't say anything. Finally, he just glanced at Lin Chen in a complicated way, and then turned away without looking back with only a few of his remaining subordinates. He needs time to digest what is happening today. Looking at their departure backs, Lin Chen turned around and smiled at. Okay, now we can share the remaining trash with peace of mind. The two began to clean up the battleground. In addition to 3 pieces of handwritten accessories, there are more than a dozen historical purple accessories, as well as a large number of rare materials and gold coins. Among them, a piece of black crystal that was slightly jumping from the heart of Klaken attracted Lin Chen's attention. Contaminated deep and pure core, mission item. Description: the sacred contains pure and chaotic power in the core, which seems to be calling the call from a corner of the world. Giving it to someone you think can handle it may open up a whole new legend, or disaster. Lin Chen carefully packed the bag with this core. He knew that this would be the key to his next main storyline. After the installation was divided, Shadow Tooth was replaced with Shadow Tooth, and Kraken's leg armor, and the whole person's temperament became even more dangerous and fatal. He pointed Lin Chen at a slight point and turned around and prepared to leave. Where are you going? Lin Chen asked. Practice. Familiar with new skills. Zhang's answer is as simple as ever. Okay. Lin Chen smiled. I will look for you when I need help. Remember, you still owe me a favor. Zhang paused for a moment, and without reversal, the figure quickly disappeared into the dark passage. In the entire cave, Lin Chen was the only one left. He looked around him and felt a lonely person in this game world for the first time. But he quickly opened up the loveliness. He has more important things to do. He took out the polluted deep core, thought for a while, and decided to go to a place. The City Lord's Mansion. When Lin Chen stepped into the meeting hall of the City Lord's Mansion again, the atmosphere was completely different from the last time. The civil servants who were originally suspicious and scrutinized about him, the only thing left was pure awe and curiosity when they looked at him. They have heard the unreasonable battle that happened deep in the sewer. The City Lord Bald and Military Minister Gao Wen even welcomed him from the door of the office, and the praise on his face was overwhelming. Lin Chen, you created a miracle again. The City Lord Bald patted his shoulder hard, his language full of excitement. A world-class leader has actually been solved by you. This is simply a god. Gao Wenling's army also smiled in slightest. I heard that you used a strange gold bomb to recreate that monster. Boy, how many good things are there in your brain that we don't know? Lin Chen just smiled implicitly and did not explain too much about the principle of the fantasy silver blast. He knew that maintaining a sense of mystery was an important means to maintain his position. My lord, let's fight. Lin Chen's expression became serious. I'm here this time for a more important thing. Speaking, he carefully took out the contaminated deep core that was still jumping slightly from the bag. The temperature of the entire office seemed to drop a few points when this core appeared. A cold, chaotic, and malicious atmosphere spread from the core, making the NPCs on the scene feel that they are not suitable for their habits. The faces of the City Lord and Gao Wenling army became extremely solemn in an instant. Is this, taken out from that monster? Bald's voice was a little dry. Yes. Lin Chen pointed a little. I can feel that it is still alive. Gao Wen walked the army forward and wanted to reach out and touch it, but he turned back halfway, his eyes full of jealousy. This thing is so evil and full of pure power. You must never let it stay in the city, you must immediately lose it. Sales? The City Lord Bald slammed his head, his eyes fixed on the core, with deep eyes. No, Gao Wen. Don't you feel it? Although it is evil, the energy contained in it is too large to imagine. What if, can we find a way to purify and use this energy? Lin Chen felt a stir. He knew that was the result he wanted. He didn't take this core out to ruin it. This stewed potato is a huge opportunity and a key to opening a new drama. The City Lord means. We need help, Bald said in a deep voice. We need help from the nerds from the Magic Tower. Only they know how to respond to such magical items. He turned to Lin Chen, his eyes full of trust and expectation. Lin Chen, I am now formally entrusting you with the name of the Lord of the First City. Please take this deep pure core and immediately go to the Magic Master Tower deep in the Silver Moon Forest to ask for the help of the Chief Master Melon. Tell him that the prelude to the Dark Frenzy is opened, and the city of First City needs the wisdom and strength of the magician. Mainline mission update, the prologue of the Dark Frenzy. New mission goal, to protect the polluted deep core to the Magician Tower, and successfully convince the Chief Master Melon to form an alliance with the City of Origin. Lin Chen took on this task without hesitation. Go to the Magician Tower, which is already in his plan. Not only did he ask for help, he also wanted to find some potential tool people for himself. After all, there is no way to have assassins in a team. I'll go out immediately. Lin Chen put away the core and answered seriously. Wait a minute. Gao Wen opened his army suddenly. He untied a wolf head badge representing the identity of the army from his waist and sent it to Lin Chen. From the city of the beginning to the Moon Forest, the journey is far away, with bandits and monsters traveling along the way. Although you are extraordinary, you are alone and wearing a heavy treasure, which may be very dangerous. With this badge, you can go to the army in the east and choose a Leo rider with no more than 10 people to support you. Leopard Rider. That is the most exquisite sky team in the city of Initial. Every knight is at least an elite NPC of 40, and his battles are extremely powerful. The City Lord and the army have invested a lot this time. Lin Chen received the badge and his favorability towards these two NPCs increased a lot. Although they have their own political calculations, they do have the determination and courage to protect their homes in the face of major issues. After bidding goodbye to the City Lord and the army, Lin Chen did not go to the army immediately. He knew that relying on the power of NPC alone was not enough, and he also needed the power of players. Especially what he has to face next may be a more complicated situation. He opened his friend list and sent a message to, "Are you interested in going to a place called the Magician Tower?" This time the reward may be a level enchanting weapon. He knew that the fighting maniac, Shoulder, had an irresistible desire for top-level equipment. After posting the news, he opened the name of the friend, Yi Luo. He hesitated for a moment, and still sent a message, "President Yi, I am commissioned by the city councilor and will send an important item to the Magician Tower. This connection will be in danger of the entire capital. If the Pokémon is willing to send an elite team to help, after the matter is completed, the city councilor's mansion will give a generous reward of the reward, and the newly opened enchant store in the Magician Tower will give a 10% discount on the Pokémon." He is chanting. He knew that Yi Xiao hated him to the core, but he also knew that Yi Xiao was an extremely rational guild leader. In the face of huge interests, personal grievances can be let go at once. Payment degree and 10% off for enchanting are inseparable from a grand guild who is determined to fight for the entire server. All he had to do was to put all these unscrupulous top players on their own cars. Whether they are willing to do so, they have other pictures. After doing all this, Lin Chen moved to the army in Chengdong. The army was very strict, but after he showed Gao Wenling's wolf head badge, he immediately passed without any obstacles. A rider leader received him and brought him to the lion balcony behind the army. Only dozens of lions with huge shapes and extraordinary spirits were seen, resting on the huge wooden frame. "Mr. Lin Chen, please choose your guard," the leader of the riders said respectfully. Lin Chen's eyes swept over the lion riders. They are tall and calm. He used the Eye of Insight and quickly selected the 10 most outstanding riders. Just as he was about to set out, 2 storms came from the military gate. On one side is the Shoulder that comes alone. He changed into a dress and carried the genre dagger behind his back. His whole person was like a scattered sword, vicious and dangerous. On the other side, Yi Lu, he actually came forward from his team, followed by 19 top experts from the Breaking Xiaogui Guild, including the core wizard who had the deep purple sword robe. Yi Lu's face was very complicated. He looked at Lin Chen, with both unwillingness and the shrewdness of a businessman. He obviously experienced fierce ideological struggles, and finally he fought with emotion and reason. "Mr. Lin Chen," Yi Lian's vocalization changed. "The Breaking the Xiao Guild is willing to contribute to the protection of the mainland." Lin Chen smiled. He looked at the team that could be called Luxury 10 elite NPC leopards in the 40th grade, a hidden professional player who single-handedly picked changes in ability, and a top player guild team with well-equipped and tacit cooperation. This team is enough to sweep any copy of the stage. Very good. Lin Chen pointed a little, turned over and stepped on the most majestic lion on the back of the head. "Our destination is Silver Forest. Time is tight, we depart." With his order, the 10-headed lions made loud yelling at the same time, flapping their wings and flying high. The huge wings flapped violently and the group rose into the sky, turning into a black, flying rapidly towards the direction of the Silver Moon Forest. On the ground, Yi Lu's team also rode on their expensive ride, and then on. A huge scale of maintenance mission has been launched. Lin Chen sat on the back of the lion, feeling the cold wind in the sky, overlooking the ground flying down from his feet. He knew that this journey would never be peaceful. Because just now, his upgraded Eye of Insight captured the potential care picture from Yi Lian. Those 4 words are, "When servo, take the core." The lion's flying speed is extremely fast, and its huge wings plan to break through the cloud layer, making a sound of crying. Lin Chen sat on the back of the lion-headed, looking down at the vast land spreading like a green carpet below, without any slight reassurance in his heart. Yi Lin's potential concern of taking the core was like a thorn in his heart. He knew very well that a person like Yi Luo would never be willing to be just a thug. The reason why he answered that he came was for profit, and on the other hand, he probably wanted to find opportunities on the road and to link the deep clean core to the desperate treasure of the game main line, and to take it for himself. Once the core falls into his hands, Yuan can use it to discuss with the NPC, and gain much greater benefits than the 10% discount given by Lin Chen. He could even go against it and use the core to get Lin Chen and the City Lord's mansion. This is a dangerous game with tiger skin. Lin Chen watched the shape of the entire team without any hesitation. 10 lion riders were in a V shape, firmly securing his central position, forming a solid aerial wall. Was riding another lion, not far behind him, like a silent shadow, always keeping alert. And below them, Yi Luo's breaking Xiao Guild team was riding various trunks, following closely on the ground. Although they couldn't fly, they rode very quickly and remained within the vision of the lion riders. On the surface, this is a luxury protection team with three-dimensional sea and air squad, but Lin Chen knows that the undercurrents in this area are the real threat, perhaps not from monsters or bandits outside, but from inside. After about half an hour of flying, they entered a vast hilly land between the city of origin and the moon forest. The terrain here begins to become complex, with the intersection of valleys, cliffs and dense forests, which is an excellent place to rush. Everyone, stay alert. Lin Chen issued an order to the leopards through the team channel. Although he did not understand military commands, he was extremely sensitive to danger as the top indicator of the electric combat team in his previous life. Almost as his voice fell, a sudden change occurred. Tens of thick crossbow arrows flashing with magical spirits suddenly shot out from a hidden valley below, like a poisonous snake, slamming into the lion riders group in the air. Evil. Complete the shape of a round shield. The leader of the rider responded very quickly and roared. 10 lion grazers immediately gathered in a team shape and surrounded the Lin Chen group in the center. They lifted the tower shield with defense runes engraved in their hands, forming a wind-impermeable steel dome. Bow, bow, bow! The dense collision sounded, and the powerful magic crossbow arrows were repeatedly knocked down by the riders' shields, bursting out a group of magic light, which failed to hurt them at all. It's the Black Sail. On the ground, Yi Luo's team also discovered the scoundrel. Only hundreds of players were seen in the valley. They had a black skullhair flag tag on their heads, which was the infamous Red Players Guild and the legend of the world, the Black Sail Sea Raiders. This is a group of desperate people who specialize in killing people and robbing merchants. Why are they here? Yi Yang's face darkened. Although the Black Sails and Sea Massacre team is not very active in provoking them to be the top guilds and NPCs. This large-scale misunderstanding has obviously been accruing for a long time. Kill them all. Yi Lian got off the attack command without hesitation. The members of the Breaking Guild immediately killed the players of the Black Sails and Seas. The light of various skills burst into the valley, and the sound of killing was shocking. Lin Chen could see clearly in the air, and he was full of doubts in his heart. Where did the Black Sail people get their instructions? This time, from decision to departure, the time was very short, and only the few people in the City Lord's mansion and the people in their team were familiar with it. Is there any inner ghost? Under his eyes, he swept toward Yi Lin, who was slaying the enemy on the ground. Could it be him? He used a knife to kill people, allowing the Black Sail to consume the power of himself and the Lion Knights, and then he would take advantage of the old man? Very likely. But Lin Chen's eye of insight after his promotion did not see any image linked with the Black Sail from Yi Lu. His idea was still take the core, but it seems that there is no direct connection with this ambush. Just as Lin Chen was thinking, the threat in the air once again subsided. 10 Black Sail players riding with double-footed flying dragons leaned down from the clouds. Although these double-footed flying dragons are not as good as the Lion God, they are striving to be flexible and tricky. The rider on their backs holds long spears and a keyboard net to try to break through the lion's defense. Get the team! The leader of the rider was determined, and the 5 lion riders immediately left their planes, facing the 2-footed flying dragons, and launched a fierce battle in the air. The remaining 5 riders were still firmly guarding around Lin Chen. But the enemy's goal seems to have been not those ordinary riders from the beginning. 3 assassin players riding with 2-feet flying dragons took advantage of the protection of their teammates to quietly start the dive without any noise, crossing the frontal battlefield, and directly swaying Lin Chen himself from a very tricky angle. Their speed was as fast as flash, and the poisonous dagger in their hands was shining with a faint green light under the sun. "Sir, protect." The two recent knights left Lin Chen to find out about them and immediately turned around and slapped. But the cooperation of these three assassins was unusually tacit. Two of them stayed at the rider, and the third one, an assassin with an ID called Ghost-hind, successfully broke through the defense line and appeared behind Lin Chen. His dagger is less than half a meter away from Lin Chen's back. Success. Ghost-hind showed a slight smile on his face. This blow, even if this NPC is not killed, it is enough to recreate him and eliminate this maintenance mission. However, he imagined that the feeling of being stabbed into the flesh did not appear. A black shadow that was faster than him appeared between him and Lin Chen like teleportation. Its shoulder. He had left his lion at some point, and jumped a few times on the back of the lion, then arrived first and stepped in front of Lin Chen. Shock! The shadow tooth in the hand of accurately held the ghost hand that he was determined to win. The two daggers collided, making a harsh friction sound. The ghost hand's pupils suddenly shrank. He never expected that there was such a terrifying master hidden in this team. He wanted to retreat, but it was too late. S wrist trembled, and the shadow teeth were like a spirit snake spitting out a letter. After a strange arc, it opened the ghost hand's latitude and wiped it directly towards his throat. Skills: Shadow. A bloodline opened around the ghost hand's neck. His body froze, and the spirit in his eyes quickly dimmed, then turned into a white light and disappeared from the spot. Kill in one blow. After solving the ghost hand, the figure of Zhang did not stop and turned into a black shadow again, stalking towards two other assassins fighting against the leopard knight. With his joining, the battle instantly showed a one-sided trend. However, in 3 or 5 seconds, the two assassins also took their teammates back. Lin Chen looked at the clean and neat back of and felt a secret in his heart. This guy's fighting power after his resignation has increased another file. With him here, his safety is indeed much higher. But the crisis has not been lifted. Just as the battle in the air ended, a huge magical aquarium suddenly lit up on the ground of the valley below. The magical aquarium was dark red, and the runes were strange, emitting a strong and ominous atmosphere. Not good. It's the nowhere field. Raise the height quickly. Lin Chen's face changed drastically, and he immediately shouted at the leopard knights. The forbidden airfield is a large-scale strategic magic that can create an area that cannot fly. Once rolled into it, all flying units will lose their flying ability and fall from the sky. But it's already too bad. The light of the magical aura rose into the sky, forming a huge red light cover that covered the entire lion rider group. Lin Chen felt a sound of sorrow from the lion under him, and his ability to fly seemed to be swayed by an invisible force, and his huge body fell uncontrollably towards the valley below. Everyone! Prepare for a crash landing. Protect the core. The leader of the rider issued the final order. Dozens of huge objects, like scattered, smashed heavily towards the ground from a height of hundreds of meters. On the ground, Yi Yang's face became extremely difficult to see. He saw that in the middle of the magical courtyard, there was a player wearing a black Sail Sea Gang suit, but with completely different temperaments. It was a wizard with a tall face. The ID on his head made Yi Lu's heart sink. Basaro, the king of Black Sails. The president of the Black Sail Sea sect, a legendary villain who has always dominated the top PK list in the national server for many years. He himself is a top-notch master with great strength. Yelong, I haven't seen it for a long time. Basar looked at the broken fell association that was killing his subordinates, and showed a cat-catching mouse-like smile on his face. I didn't expect that you would have a day for NPCs to watch the dog. Basaro. What do you want to fuck? Yi Lian roared, do you know who you are attacking? This is the official guardian of the city lord's mansion. Of course I know. Basar held his hands, looking unpredictable. I also knew that they were wearing a very interesting toy. I was very interested in that toy. His eyes went beyond the chaotic battle and turned to Lin Chen, who was falling. Lin Chen tried hard to adjust his body during the fall. He knew that all this was a huge harp to him. The Black Sail Sea Circle storm and the traps in the Forbidden Airfield are linked with only one purpose: to force him down from the sky and to wipe out the deep core of his body. And this slander is definitely not something that a simple reckless man like Basar can think of. Behind him, there must be someone else. Who is it? Just as he flashed through this thought in his brain, his eye of insight swept through a dense forest on the top of the far valley. There, he saw a flash of silence that could not be seen. It was a girl in a white robe, with silver-colored hair dancing in the wind. It's Alice. She was standing on the top of the mountain, like a real viewer, looking down at the big show she hand-directed below. Lin Chen's eye of insight even captured a very faint image pointing to the Black Sail President Basar from her. That meaning is, puppet. Alice. When the words puppet appeared in Lin Chen's eye of insight, he felt that the blood in his body was about to solidify. A bone-burning chill shines directly from the foot base to the sky spirit. So it is. The mastermind behind all this is not Yi Lin, nor is it a black sailing group, but this mysterious girl who has always shown harmlessness and even helped her several times, Ellie. The king of black sails, Basar, this evil stick that is famous among players, is actually just a line-up puppet in her hand. She directed this slam to destroy the clear core in her body. Why? As a monitor of the system, why did she do such behavior that destroys game balance and interferes with the mainline drama? What is her real purpose? Unlimited doubts exploded in Lin Chen's brain, but he had no time to think about it. The lion under him was falling rapidly, leaving only a distance of less than 100 meters from the ground. He must come up with a solution before landing. Sure. 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 A series of heavy ramming sounds echoed in the valley. The members of the Lion Knights group smashed heavily on the ground, stirring up dust in the sky. Thanks to the strong body of the leopard and the superb forced landing skills of the riders, they did not die on the spot, but most of the leopards were seriously injured and had a sorrowful bird, and they could not fly again in a short time. The riders also fell to 7 or 8 sides, and their shape was very ill. Lin Chen and have better luck. At the end of the fall, Zhang grabbed Lin Chen, used the body of the lion as a rush, and pedaled on the cliff several times to leverage the force, and finally landed on a huge rock without any danger. But they have finally fallen into the circle. Hundreds of black sails and seas players, like bloody fish, came from all directions to surround them and the injured lion riders. Ha ha! The leopards group in the rumor is not the case. Basar laughed loudly and walked out of the crowd. His eyes directly locked Lin Chen. Boy, hand over the black stone on your body. I can consider it and leave you with one full slap. On the ground, Ya and his breakthrough guild had stopped fighting. They were stuck in the middle, and the situation was very embarrassing. Heffen's goal is obviously not them, but Lin Chen. Yi Lian looked at the trapped Lin Chen, his eyes flashing, as if he was flying at a speed to weigh the pros and cons. Is it to help Lin Chen and fulfill his allies' duties, but may it make his guild lose his worries here? Or, sitting on the mountain watching the tiger fight, and even stabbed Lin Chen from behind at the critical moment, and snatched the deep pure core into his hand? Lin Chen saw Yi Lu's expression in his eyes and sneered in his heart. He knew that under such circumstances, Yi Lang's conscience could never be expected to be discovered. He glanced at the shoulder beside him, and then at the lion riders who were standing up and trying to reorganize the team. The number of enemies is different, and fighting hard is definitely a dead end. President Basar, Lin Chen suddenly spoke. His voice was unusually calm, and he was not panicked at all. Are you sure you want to make wedding dresses for others? Basar's smile slammed and he raised his eyebrows. What do you mean? I mean, Lin Chen held up the deep purple core in his hand, exposing it to everyone's visuals. Do you know what this is? It's called deep purple core. And the person who planned all this and lets you come and kill it has no intention of letting you take it away alive. He is catching this. The control of Basar's Basar is not the absolute control that completely erases his own consciousness. He wanted to use words to move Basar's heart. Basar's face changed slightly, but immediately became ruthless. "Stop talking here. Give me a try. Kill them and take away the core." With his order, the black sail players around him shouted and rushed forward. "And guard the core." The lion riders roared, and only a few remaining riders who could fight immediately formed a circle, raised their shields, and prepared for the final resistance. A fierce battle seems to be inevitable. However, Lin Chen did an action that everyone unexpectedly expected during this drama. He turned over and shouted loudly at the cliff behind him, which was empty. "Ally. I've been watching it for so long, so I should come out. I don't want to know what secret is hidden in this core." His voice roared in the valley. Everyone was stunned. The players of Black Sail met each other, and didn't know who he was talking to. Basar also showed a look of confusion on his face. Only Yiluo, when he heard the name Alice, and his pupils suddenly shrank. He remembered the mysterious girl NPC who suddenly appeared and solved Lin Chen when he was at the Black Iron Outpost. Above the cliff, there was silence and no response. "Ha, are you still installing it?" Lin Chen sneered and raised the deep core. "Isn't it just for you to pay for such great effort? Do you believe it or not, I can detonate it now with just a little energy. By then, everyone in this entire valley, including your puppet Basar, will have to be buried with it. This is purely a bluff." Lin Chen didn't know how to detonate the core, but he had to make a fuck. The level of emphasis on this core was more than the confidentiality of her plan. As time passed by minute by second, the air seemed to have frozen. Just when everyone thought Lin Chen was just making a sound, a crispier and helpless sound finally passed down from the top of the valley. It's really unintentional. Every time I want to see a good show, I will be given a yellow by you, a fun guy. With the sound, Ellie's figure walked out of the dense forest at the top of the mountain. She was still the innocent and romantic girl, with a slight remorse on her face, as if the bloody murder in front of her was just a boring drama that was plotted in advance. The moment she appeared, Basar's body stiffened clearly, and a flash of thorn and fear flashed in his eyes. Yiwang took a deep breath. He finally understood that the mastermind behind all this was really that unpredictable world-class NPC. He and his breaking haul, from the beginning to the end, were just a piece on the other person's chessboard. "Tell me," Ellie looked down at Lin Chen. Her temperament was dull. "What do you want?" "I want to discuss a deal with you." Lin Chen looked at her and said word by word. "Trade?" Alice seemed to hear some huge joke. "Do you think you are qualified now? Are you talking about trading with me? You don't have qualifications, you're not saying it." Lin Chen's eyes became unusually good. He used the upgraded Eye of Insight to concentrate all his mental power and locked Ellie's silk tightly. "Let me guess why you want this core. Because, this thing is not a clear core at all, right? It's just a slut, a container. And in this container, what is contained is another thing. The same thing, that makes you, or to put it, feel terrified." With Lin Chen's words, the smile on Ellie's face completely disappeared for the first time. Instead, it is a very cold and indifferent nature. "You know too much." Her voice no longer had any emotional colors, like a cold program code. "I also know." Lin Chen ignored the murder in her voice and continued to slim his own code. "This thing is very important to you. It is important that you will not hesitate to violate your rules as a surveillance officer, and you must also get it. But you are also afraid of it. You are afraid that the forced retrieval will cause the container to break, let the things inside leak out, and cause consequences that you can't control. So, you need me, and I need this variable to help you open it safely." Every word from Lin Chen was like a heavy blow, knocking on Ellie's heart. 70% of these suggestions are based on his sporadic understanding of the game background in his previous life, and 30%, which is purely his slanderous guesses and bluffs in the absolute situation. But he was right. Ellie was silent. A long silence. The entire valley is full of sound. Everyone held their breath and watched the descending confrontation between the two NPCs that they could not understand. Finally, Ellie opened her mouth again. "What do you want?" Lin Chen knew that he had won the victory in this psychological game. He relaxed and then expressed his conditions. First, let your puppet, the person carrying him, disappear from my eyes immediately. Second, lift the ban on the air and cure my lion rider, and make sure I can safely reach the magician tower. The third and most important point, Lin Chen's eyes flashed with a cunning light. I want to know who you are. What is your real purpose? When Lin Chen proposed the third condition, the atmosphere in the entire valley seemed to be ruined. There was an invisible and suffocating pressure in the air, and the source was the small figure on the top of the mountain. There was no expression on Ellie's face, and in the amethyst-like eyes, there was a complex and dangerous light, like a torrent of data moving at high speed. She looked at Lin Chen calmly, as if she wanted to see through his soul. Below, whether it is the players of the Black Sails, or the Breakthrough Guild of Yiluo, everyone felt a sense of a war that came from their hearts. They have never felt such a strong NPC power, a look from a higher level of life, and they have no courage to move their fingers. You are very kind, Lin Chen. After a long time, Ellie opened her mouth slowly. Her voice was so cold that it didn't bring a lot of temperature. I can answer you for the first two conditions. But the third, you are exploring the bottom secret of sky enlightenment. This is enough to make you formatted tens of thousands of times on the scene. Format? Am I just a change number now? Lin Chen was unafraid of talking to her. Since it is a change, he naturally has the right to know who the opponent of this chess is. If you don't say it, it doesn't matter. At worst, let's play together to see if this core explodes first, or if I'm formatted by you first. He was doing a luxury game, gambled Ellie, or the system behind her, and dared not bear the risk of the core losing control. Ellie was silent again. Her fingers unconsciously curled her silver hair, which was her habitual movement when she was in deep thought. Time passed by minute, and every second was as long as a century. Finally, she seemed to have made some decision and sighed lightly. The terrifying pressure that covered the entire scene also disappeared. Okay, you win. Her voice was filled with fatigue and helplessness. I can tell you some of the things you are qualified to know now. She snatched her hand, and in the valley, the huge forbidden airfield magical space quickly dimmed and finally disappeared. And those players of the Black Sail Sea spy team who were originally sturdy seemed to have suddenly been pulled out of all their strength, and their eyes became confused. Then, under their leader, Basar, silently retreated like a tide, and disappeared into the shadows of the mountains and forests, as if they had never appeared. Then, Ellie bent her fingers at the injured leopards. Under a soft, moon-like energy, the cap covers the injured lions. The wounds on their bodies were compatible with the speed visible to the naked eye, and their originally listless spirits quickly recovered. After a few loud shouts of birds, the lions stood up again, flapping their wings and about to fly. Now, I have done your first two conditions. Ellie's eyes closed. Lin Chen again, as for the third. She paused for a moment, as if she was organizing language. I am not the kind of system monitor you understand, she said slowly. You can understand me as the immunization program of the sky system, or, to put it, is a firewall. Immune procedures? Firewall? Lin Chen raised an eyebrow, which was different from his previous life's knowledge. The world of sky creation Yuan is not as stable as your players see. Alice's voice became a little slim. In the depth of its base code, there are many unstable and highly destructive viruses. Some of these viruses are left behind when the system is constructed, and some are malicious invasions from the outside. And the deep and pure power you mentioned is the most powerful and lively one of them. My job is to find these viruses before they break out and cause the entire world to collapse, and to separate them from them, and if possible, clear them. So, Lin Chen immediately understood, is the thing in the core of this kind of virus? To be precise, Alice said, is the virus source. It's the core fragment of some extremely ancient and powerful deep pure virus. It's like a signal launch tower, constantly attracting and strengthening the deep purity around it, and the change of Kraken is its hand. I must recycle it before it hatches and establishes a solid connection with its body. Then why don't you do it yourself? but instead plan this kind of disaster? This is what Lin Chen is most puzzled. Because of the rules. A libertaish voice revealed a sense of helplessness. As a firewall, I am strictly restricted. I cannot directly interfere with the normal operation of the world, and cannot actively attack any unit that is judged as neutral or friendly by the system, even if that unit carries a virus source. I can only use the role of gray belt like Basar to achieve my purpose. But, she looked at Lin Chen, you are an exception. You are a variable that does not meet any rules. Your appearance broke the balance of the system, but also gave me an opportunity to pass the rules. Lin Chen understood it thoroughly. It turns out that from the beginning to the end, I was all in Ellie's calculations. What she calls help is just to cultivate herself into an agent who is not subject to regulations and can help her deal with dirty life. So, do you want me to help you deal with this core? It's not a treatment, it's a delivery. Ellie shook her head. This virus source has begun to hatch, and the structure is very unstable. Any rough magic or physical impact may cause it to explode early. The only thing that can suppress its activity is the pure and high-level power of order. And in the whole world, where the power of order is the most sacred place is the Sanctum Spring in the Magician's Tower. I need you to bring it safely there and use the power of the spring to seal it temporarily. This answer solved all the doubts. Ellie's behavior, purpose, and her difficulties became clear. Lin Chen looked at the deep core in his hand and felt that this thing was even more infuriating than before. This is not only a mission item, but also a timely blow that may detonate the entire server at any time. I understand. Lin Chen pointed a little and accepted her words. I will take it to the Magician Tower. But, as an exchange, I need you to answer me. You still want to mention the conditions? Ellie raised her eyebrows. It's not a condition, it's a request. Lin Chen's expression became serious. I want you to give me a promise. During this period when I help you deal with the virus, you can no longer calculate me directly or indirectly, or the people around me. He glanced at the silence next to him, who was silent from the beginning to the end, but kept him behind him. He could not tolerate his companions and became a pawn on the chessboard of Ellie. Ellie looked at Lin Chen's calm eyes, then looked at the suspension on his side that was scattered with breathing from a stranger. She was silent for a moment, and finally she was still a little bit. Okay, I'll promise you. As long as you don't act that endangers the foundation of the world, I will not use any interference means to you and the units you consider as allies during our cooperation. Are certain. Are certain. After reaching agreement, AI Liz's figure became blurred again. My mission is to monitor the entire world and not stay in one place for too long. The road ahead depends on you. Remember, Lin Chen, don't try to explore the secrets in the core, that's not something you can bear now. And... Her figure was about to disappear, and the sound was clearly transmitted into Lin Chen and Yi Luo's ears. Beware of those real viewers. They may have noticed you. After saying that, she disappeared. In the valley, the calm was restored again. Yi Lu walked over with a pale face, and the information he just heard had completely overturned his understanding of the game. Virus? Firewall? Where is this game? It is simply a different world that is truly a moving world. Lin Chen. Lord. He opened his mouth, his voice a little dry, and he even changed subconsciously, just. Nothing happened just now. Lin Chen stopped him, his language was dull, we just encountered the attack of the black sails and successfully repelled them. Isn't it, will ye grow up? Yi Lian was a wise man and immediately understood what Lin Chen meant. Lin Chen was telling him that the secret he heard today must be in his stomach. This is both a warning and a protection. Yes, yes. We pulled the black sail away. Yi Lian was busy. Very good. Lin Chen turned around and stepped onto the back of the lion again. After the rest, we continue to develop. Target, the Magician Tower. The lion riders reorganized and rose into the sky again. Yi Xiao immediately ordered his team to follow. But this time, the atmosphere in the team became extremely solemn and distorted. Everyone has a lot of worries. Yi Xiang looked at Lin Chen's back in front of him. The greed and ambition in his eyes had been replaced by deep awe and fear. He finally understood that what he was involved in was a terrifying game that was beyond the player level and was fighting against gods. And you, it is better to be an ally who listens to you. Lin Chen sat on the back of the lion, feeling uneasy. Although Alice unveiled some of the gangs, it brought more questions. Who is the real audience? Is it other immune programs like Ellie, or is it a more terrifying existence? What exactly is the virus source in the core of this? He felt as if he was being rolled into a huge vortex center, and every step forward was dragged deeper into the unknown. But he doesn't have any choice. He could only walk until all the truth was revealed, or swallowed by the whirlpool. After experiencing the shocking and confrontation at that scene, the next journey became unusually calm. Maybe it was Ellie's killing, or maybe it was the pain of the Black Sails gang that shocked the little boys, and they never encountered any resistance like that again. The atmosphere of the team was always a little depressed. Yi Lu and his members of the Defeat Guild became taciturn, and their eyes were filled with awe at Lin Chen. They no longer regard this care delivery as an ordinary mission, but as a journey of fighting with gods that they cannot understand. Yi Huang even took the initiative to give up any small moves, and actually let the team follow on the ground and play a good role in protecting the team. Lin Chen was so quiet that he used this period of time to carefully study the new abilities he gained after his upgrade. The effect of the romance made him particularly interested. System tips: you have successfully awarded the NPC Leo Rider Roland Blessings of Courage to the temporary drama romance, and its power attribute will be increased by 5 points in the next hour. Looking at the slight golden aperture on the top of the rider named Luolan, Lin Chen clicked the head with satisfaction. This skill is tailor-made for team leaders. Although there are not many improvements, it may play a decisive role in key moments. He glanced at the shoulder that was far behind him. He was closing his eyes on his cultivation, as if he was familiar with the power of his new career. Lin Chen did not fight him. He knew that top players needed most not external interference, but self-sanity. After most of the day of flying, they finally entered the territory of Silver Moon Forest. Unlike the forests outside, the trees here are unusually tall, and the tree crowns almost cover the entire sky. The sunlight can only be spotted from the gaps in the branches, making the entire forest covered in a quiet and mysterious atmosphere. The air is filled with heavy magic elements. Every breath can feel the pure energy of the silk essence flowing into the body. "It's coming soon," reminded the leader of the leader. The magician tower is at the center of the forest, protected by the powerful boundary. Our lions cannot fly directly, and can only land outside the boundary. Sure enough, after flying for more than 10 minutes, a strange scene that could not be described in language appeared before them. A giant tower that is as white as jade, carved from a whole piece of crystal, stands quietly in the middle of the forest. The tower body emitted soft white light, and countless mysterious runes seemed to be hidden on the tower body, flowing slowly. A translucent energy cover visible to the naked eye, like a giant upside-down bowl, covers the entire tower and a large area around it. This is the Magician Tower in the genre, the magical land of the entire vast land. The Lion Knights group landed quietly on a clearing field outside the boundary. Yi Lu's team also quickly arrived from the forest. When they saw the mighty magic tower in front of them, they all felt amazement. "Mr. Lin Chen, we can only send you here." The rider leader turned over and said respectfully, "The boundary will exclude all non-caster units, and we cannot enter. Thank you for your hard work." Lin Chen pointed, "You can go back to the city first and revive the army to Gaowen." "No," the leader of the riders slammed his head, and his genius was determined. "The command of the army is to ensure that you and the corps are safe. We will rush here until you come out of the tower safely." Lin Chen felt warm in his heart and felt the loyalty of these NPC soldiers again. He turned to Yi Luin and said, "The next path is up to us. However, the boundary will also have a certain pressure on you, and all non-magical damage will be weakened. You must be mentally prepared." Yi Lang clicked the head to show that he understood, and just glanced at the tower indifferently, without a trace of fear in his eyes. but instead showed a sense of curiosity. Lin Chen took a deep breath and walked towards the boundary first. When his body touched the translucent energy cover, the cover rippled like water waves without stopping him. As a messenger who holds the token of the city lord and the core of the deep purity, he has the right to enter. The team of N are also tightened afterwards. When they passed through the boundary, they felt a slight resistance, and there was a magic field pressure system debuff on their bodies, and their physical attack power was weakened by 10%. After entering the boundary, the scene in front of me suddenly became clear. Here is like an independent ecological garden, with strange flowers and grass everywhere, and a few small spirits like stones dancing and playing among the flowers. A small piece of moonstone lines the entrance to the tower. The whole environment is a bit too peaceful. Is there a single guard here? There is no one else? One of Yi Luo's subordinates couldn't help but mutter. The arrogance of the magician does not need to be guarded. A cold voice suddenly came from the front of them. Everyone looked at the sound and saw only the gate made of light and shadow in the tower. Some time ago, there was a female spirit wearing a blue star robe and holding a crystal staff. She has long silver hair like a waterfall, her facial features are as delicate as a painting, but her expression is cold as ice, and her eyes are filled with a sense of indelible depression. Chief Astrologist Evelyn, Story NPC. Lin Chen learned from the city lord that this Evelyn is the most proud disciple of the chief wizard Merlin, and is also the second person of the magician Gyoda, who is responsible for handling all the daily affairs of the Gyoda. The envoy of the City of Initiality, Evelyn's eyes swept over Lin Chen, and finally fell on the core of the special fabric in his bag. Her eyebrows were stunned for a moment. The teacher has been waiting for you at the top of the tower for a long time. Please come with me. Her attitude was cold, as if she was not welcome to their arrival. After saying that, she turned around and walked into the tower without saying anything more. Lin Chen and others immediately followed. The inside of the tower looks more empty and macro than the outside. There is no staircase, only a magical platform floating in the center, constantly radiating soft light. Evelyn led them to the platform, and the platform rose up without any noise. They walked through layers of space, each with huge bookshelf filled with magical books. Some wizard disciples wearing various robes shuttled between bookshelf or immersed in their magical experiments, and were familiar with their arrival. Every NPC here is immersed in his own world and is indifferent to everything outside. This is the magician. Soon, the platform reached the top of the tower. Here is a huge circular star chamber, with a completely transparent crystal at the dome, which allows you to clearly see the blue sky and the floating cloud layer outside. In the center of the room, a huge and sophisticated astrology was placed, with countless crystals and wheels slowly turning, simulating the movement of the stars. An old man wearing a long white robe and white hair was facing them with his back, staring at the astrological signs with his back. He looked very old, but his body was unusually tall and straight, and a magic wave that was as deep as the sea scattered on his body. He is the legendary existence in the legend of the world, which all magic players need to look up to, the chief magician Master, Mei Lin. Teacher, the messenger of the city of origin has arrived. Evelyn bowed respectfully to show off. Merlin turned slowly. His face was filled with a snail of wisdom, but his eyes were brighter than the stars in the sky. His eyes swept across the crowd, and finally, they stayed on Lin Chen. Welcome to you, the variable from the world. Merlin opened his mouth, his voice old and gentle, carrying a power to see through everything, and, the trick thing you brought. Lin Chen felt a little confused. This Merlin saw through his true nature at a glance. From the bag, he carefully took out the deep and clean core wrapped in layered layers. The moment the core appears, the atmosphere in the entire star room changes. The crystals that were running smoothly on the astrological constellations began to shake violently and buzzed with buzzing sadness. Evelyn's face turned pale with a swish and she exclaimed in surprise, "What a terrible power of chaos! Teacher, this thing. I know." Merlin's expression also became unprecedentedly solemn. He stretched out a thin finger and squinted towards the core. A pure white light shot out, covering the core shell, temporarily suppressing the ominous breath it emits. The guy bald has done one thing right. Merlin sighed. This thing has really reached the edge of the explosion. If you come a few days later, the entire Eastland will probably become a deep and pure paradise. He looked at Lin Chen and said seriously, "Young man, thank you for bringing it. Now, please put it in the spring of the white there. Only the power of order there can seal it." He pointed to a corner of the star room, where there was a small pool made of moonstone. The water of the pool was clear and radiated with the sacred light. Lin Chen clicked the head and was about to walk over. But at this moment, Evelyn, who had been standing beside her, suddenly opened her mouth, and her voice was trembling and decisive. "Teacher! Can't seal it." Everyone was stunned and looked at her in confusion. "Evelyn, what are you talking about?" Merlin's eyebrows began to snake. "Teacher, have you forgotten?" Evelyn's eyes were flashing with light, and she said passionately, "My younger brother, I was swallowed by the chaotic energy that year to study the power of deep purity, and the soul was trapped in the eternal empty space. This core is the strongest known deep purity energy. It may, or maybe it is our only hope to save my brother." Her words made the atmosphere of the entire star room strange again. And Lin Chen's brain suddenly sounded. A main storyline that had been hidden for a long time was instantly linked. Evelyn's younger brother, the genius magician who was swallowed by the deep purity. He finally remembered that in the game backstory of his previous life, the NPC spirit that caused Kraken to be contaminated, his name was Kevin. And Kaiwan is Evelyn's biological brother. Evelyn's words full of grief and expectation were like a huge rock thrown into the calm lake, stirring up dramatic waves in the star room. Merlin's face became unusually complex. He looked at his favorite disciple with a hint of unbearableness and sorrow in his eyes. "Evelyn, I know you miss Kevin. But you should know more than anyone else that the soul that has been swallowed by the deep and pure cannot be saved. If you do so, you will only release a more terrible disaster. No. There must be a way." Evelyn's mood was almost collapsed. She pointed to the core in Lin Chen's hand and said with a sharp voice, "The power of this core is so powerful. As long as we can analyze its structure and find a way to reverse and swallow, we will definitely be able to save Kaiwan. Teacher, this is my only chance, please." "So Malin shouted. His gentle temperament was silent, replaced by a majesty of a legendary master. For a hopeless hope, to capture the safety of the entire mainland, this is not the rationale that a magician should have. The fierce competition between the two masters and disciples made all the players on the scene, including Yiluo and Lu, stunned. They never expected that in the harsh magical land, they could see such a dramatic scene. This has completely exceeded their understanding of NPC interactions, and is more like a family tragedy that truly happens in front of you. And Lin Chen, as the center of this storm, held the determined bomb in his hand, only two big ones. He is now facing a difficult decision. Following the plan of Merlin and Ellie, put the core into the Santa White Spring, seal it in the end, and complete the task? This is the most stable, but it will undoubtedly offend Evelyn, the second person in the tower. Judging from her exciting performance, she is likely to become a huge danger in the future, even a new enemy. Or, support Evelyn and try to use the core to save her brother? This is a huge risk. Once it fails, the core will lose control and the consequences will be unthinkable. But if it succeeds, he will not only win all the favor and friendship of a historical NPC, but also be more likely to take this opportunity to gain in-depth understanding of the most core secrets of the world about deep purity and soul. This is a luxury game with high risks and high returns. Just as Lin Chen was balancing the pros and cons, his eye of insight suddenly captured a very obscure detail. He saw that when Merlin severely scolded Evelyn, his eyes were deep, and in addition to anger and helplessness, there was also a flash of guilt. Guilt? Why is guilty? A big thought formed in Lin Chen's brain in an instant. Or maybe, the truth of the matter is not as simple as it seems on the surface. Kaiwan's accident may be intimate. Lin Chen decided to pay it again. "Master Merlin, Ms. Evelyn, please listen to me. He suddenly opened his mouth and broke the conflict between the two teachers and disciples. Everyone's eyes were focused on him. Maybe, we don't need to make either-or choices. Lin Chen's words were calm and confident. Sealing the core is for the safety of the mainland, which is something that must be done. However, before sealing, we may be able to try something different. What do you want to do? Merlin's eyebrows were tightly locked. Lin Chen looked at Evelyn, who was emotionally excited, and said slowly, "Ms. Evelyn, is your brother's soul really swallowed? I learned from a special channel that before Kraken was killed, the ghost that led to its transformation, that is, Mr. Kevin's soul, once said." What did he say? Evelyn asked anxiously, as if she had grabbed the life-saving straw. He said, for the master's reply. Lin Chen said word by word. As soon as this sentence was spoken, Maylene's body shook suddenly, and the blood on her face faded. Evelyn was stunned, and a confused expression appeared on her face. Is there any problem with this sentence? Yi Lian couldn't help but ask in a low voice. The problem is big. Lin Chen's voice became low. The souls swallowed by the deep purity will eventually lose their self-consciousness and become chaotic energy. They will only instinctively destroy and kill, and it is impossible to retain the concept of master, and it is even more impossible to execute complex instructions like welcome back. He turned to Maylin, whose face was pale, with a torch. So, Mr. Kevin's soul was not swallowed at all. He took the initiative to sacrifice himself. He became a tag and a coordinate to guide a powerful and deep purity leader to surrender to this world. Are I right, Master Merlin? The truth was revealed mercilessly by Lin Chen. How would you know? Mei Lin's voice was trembling. He looked at Lin Chen, his eyes filled with shock and disbelief. After listening to this conversation, Evelyn, as if she was struck by lightning, stumbled back 2 steps, and wrote with great hope on her face. No, impossible, Kevin, why would he? Of course he will. Merlin suddenly roared, filled with regret and pain. It's all my fault. It was me who discovered that he had secretly studied taboos that year. It was me who broke all his research results in anger and turned them off. It was me who forced him on the verge of the way. In order to prove to me that the power he pursued was the truth, he chose that unlucky way. He said that this legendary master who had lived for hundreds of years actually had 2 scattered water flowing from the corners of his eyes. It turns out that this is the whole truth of the matter. A serious teacher who hopes that his son will become a dragon, a rebellious and extreme genius student, eventually becomes an irreversible tragedy. So, Lin Chen took the head, his voice beating on every person's heart like a morning bell and evening drum. The current problem is no longer whether to save Kaiwan. Instead, he must complete the mission of Tao Tag and lead the so-called master to this world, stop him and liberate his soul from that evil contract. Liberation? Say it so easily. Merlin sat down to the ground. His soul has been firmly determined with the will of that purity master, unless there is a greater power to force the connection between them. With a stronger power, don't we have a part in front of us? Lin Chen shook the deep core in his hand. Everyone was stunned. Are you crazy? Evelyn responded for the first time and shouted in a daze, do you want to use this core power to fight against another purgatory leader? This is a drink to quench thirst. No, I don't want to use its power, but to use its person. Lin Chen's eyes flashed with the light of wisdom. He combined the knowledge he saw in his previous life from countless background stories and settings with the situation in front of him, and built a plan that could be called crazy. There are also relationships between the Deep Purple Lords. They are like a group of feral wolves fighting each other. The virus source in this core, its position and power, is obviously far above the master served by Kevin. What if we can find a way to make Kevin's soul turn to establish a contract with this core? Merlin and Evelyn were shocked and couldn't speak. This idea was too bold, too far from arbitrary, completely beyond their understanding. In this way, Kevin's soul can remove the control of that old master. And we can control Kevin's soul in the ground by controlling this not yet fully hatched core. Then, we will use the power of the White Spring to purify the 2 of them. Although this is a path of danger, it is the only path we have at present that can not only save Kevin and ultimately eradicate future troubles. Lin Chen's voice lens was powerful and roared in the empty star room. Yi Lin and have been completely dumbfounded. They feel that their brain capacity is serious and insufficient. So the game plot is still so good? Where's the players playing games here? It is clearly the NPC taking players to play the entire game world in the palm of your hands. Merlin and Evelyn looked at each other and saw the fierce shock and thrust in each other's eyes. Although Lin Chen's plan sounds like a sausage, from theory, it is actually, there is a real possibility. What should I do? Finally, Evelyn raised her head, looked at Lin Chen, and asked in a trembling voice. She chose to believe in this man who created miracles again and again. Lin Chen finally smiled at the corner of his mouth. He knew that he had won again. He turned to Merlin. Master, I need you to use the astrological sign to lock the position of the virtual channel where the soul of Karen is now. He turned to Evelyn again. Ms., I need you to activate the entire magic of the tower and build a stable energy channel that connects our world with that road mark. Finally, he looked at Yi Lu and he summoned him, and a fierce fighting spirit ignited in his eyes. As an anti-team, he entered that energy channel, found Kevin's soul, and forced him to sign a new contract with this core. This is his planned reverse call. It is not waiting for Xinjing to decline, but to take the initiative to attack and kill Xinjing's hometown. Historical World Mission Chain Update, the Prologue of the Dark Frenzy. New stage mission is opened, the contract of the title of the Void. Mission goal, with the help of Merlin and Evelyn, enter the Dukong Road tag, find Kaiwan's soul, and use the power of the Deep Purity Core to force him to break contact with the old master and establish a new contract. Warning, this mission is extremely dangerous and full of unknowns in the air. Once it fails, your soul may be permanently exiled. Looking at the mission prompts in front of him full of confusing and threatening, Lin Chen knew that he was about to embark on a most crazy and exciting adventure since the launch of The Legend of the World. When Lin Chen announced the crazy reverse call plan, the entire star room fell into a strange atmosphere of unrestrained and solemn interaction. Merlin and Evelyn, two figures standing at the top of the magic world in mainland China, were completely impressed by Lin Chen's beyond imagination. They no longer regard him as an ordinary messenger or player, but a true breaker who can open a new path in the absolute. Okay. Just do what you said. Merlin stood up from the ground, sniffing the previous slap, and his eyes rekindled the glory of a legendary master. I haven't had such an interesting magical experiment for too long. Even if I fail, being able to remove a potentially huge threat to the mainland will be considered dead. Evelyn also pointed a lot. Although there was still a slight light in her eyes, it was more of a kind of determination and hope. For Kaiwan, I am willing to accept it no matter how much risk. The plan begins immediately. Merlin walked to the huge astrology and chanted an ancient and obscure spell. Innumerable runes flew out of his mouth and merged into the astrological signs. The originally slowly moving star plate began to rotate at a surprising speed, and countless light points of stars intersect and collide. Finally, a faint, almost unobservable dark red light line was separated from the star plate and pointed to a specific coordinate in the empty space. Finally found it. That's Kaiwan's soul trait. Merlin shouted, with dense beads of sweat on the head. The way to lock a different space is also a huge consumption for him. Thank you to me. Evelyn immediately took over. She flew up and floated in the air in the star room, and the crystal staff in her hand rose high. The entire magician tower emitted a buzzing sound, with no more magic than the dragon. It gathered from every layer of the tower and stormed into Evelyn's body like a sea of rivers. Her silver-colored long hair was automatically unspoken, and her robe and keys were scattered, and her whole body emitted a dazzling light, like a god who had passed away. In my name, Evelyn, the power of time and space is opened. She sniffed and rushed the staff down toward the next. The great magic power gathered to the extreme turned into a thick silver light column composed of pure energy, and it slammed into the space locked by the astrological sign. So, the space, like a torn cloth, produces a sharp slight. A space crack that was about 3 meters straight, with a very unstable edge, and a dark inside appeared in the center of the star room. From the cracks, a heart-pounding and chaotic air breath is revealed. The channel is open. But it is very unstable. I can only last 10 minutes at most. Evelyn's voice became a little weak due to overdrawing of magic. 10 minutes, it's enough. Lin Chen's voice was unusually cold. He turned around and looked at the attack team behind him. Yi Huang and the members of the Blades and the members of the Blades and Fallen Guild brought him were all white. Although they are top players, they still feel shocked and frightened when facing this scene that directly tear the space and kills into different dimensions. Lin Chen. Sir, Yi Lian asked in a difficult manner, are we really going in? The mission prompt says that if the soul fails, he will be permanently exiled. If he dies, is it equivalent to being denied? Not deletion, Lin Chen glanced at him and said lightly, but punishment must be much heavier than ordinary death, or maybe it is a permanent reduction in attributes, or maybe it is a long time to get online, who knows? So, it's still time to quit now, and I won't ask for it. This is an opportunity for them to choose, and it is also a psychological pressure. Yi Lang's heart is in the battle between heaven and man. Reason told him that this wad was too dangerous and he should not be able to walk on it. But emotions and ambitions are instigating him again, which is the core main plot of the legend of the world. There has never been an opportunity since the service started. Once successful, the prizes and expectations won will be immeasurable, enough to allow him and the Pokémon to truly leave all competitors behind. In the end, the ambition fought hard and feared. Fuck! Yi Lu gritted his teeth and shouted to his subordinates behind him, those who are afraid of death are now slaughtering. Those who are not afraid of death, those who want to be famous in history with me will be ready to fight. We have produced any excellent equipment and skill books, and we will make a personal investment and double the market price to the team. Under the repeated reward, there must be a brave man. Although the members of the Breaking the Holy Guild were afraid, they all ignited the war with Yi Wang's encouragement and money. Lin Chen was satisfied with the spot. He looked at the last person, Pooh. Said nothing, but silently grasped the genre dagger, Shadow Tooth, a little tighter, with no slight hesitation in his eyes, only a cold fighting spirit. Very good. Lin Chen took a deep breath, took out the deep core from his bag and held it in his palm. Our mission goal is very clear. After entering, Ye's team was responsible for cleaning up the possible gangs around him and protecting the caster. There are Super and I, both of us, are responsible for the main attack, and want to get close to Kai Wen's soul, and imprint this core on his soul. Remember, we only have 10 minutes. Move! After saying that, Lin Chen's first step was clear and stepped into the dark space crack without hesitation. A feeling of dizziness came, as if the soul had been pulled away from the body. When Lin Chen regained his perception again, he found that he was standing in a strange space. There is no sky, no earth, only infinite and deep darkness. Under the foot is a ground composed of countless twisted and wailing souls, with some broken and scattered space fragments floating around. The whole world is filled with a kind of confusion, hopelessness, and crazy breath. This is the interior of the Dukong Road Mark. Behind him, Yi Luo's team and also appeared. They were obviously shocked by the scene in front of them, and each face was filled with a shocked look. And in the center of this space, a translucent human-shaped soul radiating dark red light sat on her knees. He is exactly Kevin. Innumerable black chains extended from him, connected to the surrounding darkness, constantly extracting the power of the empty space, and at the same time, a signal was also launched into an unknown farther away. Around him, there are dozens of monsters of various shapes and composed of pure and pure energy, the Void Dog. They are like loyal men, guarding their tagrams. Running! Lin Chen shouted softly. The plan will be open immediately. Break the Xiaogui, prevent the shape. Go up the top, the mother should pay attention to blood loss, and clean up the empty dogs first in the long-term career. Yi Lian quickly entered the targeting state and showed the quality that a top guild leader should have. The members of the Breaking the Holy Guild immediately moved, and the warriors held their shields to face the roaring empty dogs, and the wizards and archers began to exert fire from behind. A fierce battle exploded in an instant. Lin Chen took advantage of the opportunity of the yelly team to attract firepower, like two arrows leaving the strings, quietly touched Kaiwan in the center from the side wings without sound. The figure of almost merged into the darkness, and was so fast that only one shadow was left. Lin Chen was tightened, and then he realized the speed advantage of Kraken's leg armor to a very high degree. Their actions were soon discovered by Kevin. The translucent soul suddenly opened its eyes. It was a pair of eyes that had no feelings, only pure maliciousness and craziness. "I dare to stop the master, suppress the situation." He made a continuous, metal friction sound. He stretched out a hand and grabbed Lin Chen and the spirit ground under the two people's feet suddenly stretched out. Dozens of ghost hands composed of resentment, grabbed their ankles tightly, and tried to drag them into the purity of resentment. "Be careful!" Lin Chen shouted loudly, and he pulled out the long sword on his backhand, and with one blow, he cut off several ghost hands. But more ghost hands emerged from the ground and were killed even harder. And the shoulder should be more direct. His body suddenly swirled, and the shadow teeth in his hand formed a perfect arc. A black rage spread out with him as the center, shattering all the ghost hands around him in an instant. Shadow Blade Digger's new skill, Blade Storm. After the dislodge and diminishing, the shock did not stop and accelerated again, like a black flash, squeezing Karen. There was a flash of surprise in Kaiwan's eyes, and he didn't seem to have expected that this click could actually remove his restraint. He raised his other hand, and a black shield composed of pure and deep energy was pressed in front of him. Shock! Shadow's tooth pierced hard on the shield, bursting out a black spark. Lin Chen saw this opportunity. He suddenly burst out from behind the body, concentrated all his strength on his arms, and pressed the burning deep and pure core in his hand hard towards Kaiwan's translucent chest. "Give me, change my master!" Lin Chen roared angrily. Kaiwan's pupils were steadily retracted. He wanted to retreat and avoid, but it was too late. The core of the sacred power with higher levels of deep purity was imprinted on his soul. "Ah!" A cry that was so silenced that it could not be described in language came out of Kaiwan's mouth. The most violent clash and devouring of two different sources began within his soul. Kaiwan's soul began to twist and deform violently, expanding and shrinking at the same time. A storm of energy that destroyed the sky and earth was bursting with him as the center. Lin Chen were first attacked and were directly blown away by this storm, and their health was lost. The Breakdown Association, which is fighting against the Void Dog, was also affected by this storm, and it is very ill-fated and is seriously terrified. "Get out quickly! Get out of here!" Lin Chen yelled at everyone. He knew that the most dangerous moment was coming. The intersection of the two new forces may cause Kaiwan's soul to explode at any time. At that time, this unstable space will definitely collapse. The space rift that Evelyn opened was just behind them. "Cover the retreat of Lord Lin Chen." Yi Lian also responded and gave the final order to the few remaining subordinates. He took out a bottle of precious antibiotic water, drank it, and tried to fight for Lin Chen even if it took a second. Lin Chen supported each other and retreated towards the cracks in the space. Just as they were about to step out of the crack, Lin Chen glanced back. He saw that in the center of the violent energy storm, Kevin's twisted soul finally stopped piercing. The deep and pure core had completely integrated into his chest, emitting a breath that was both evil and full of supreme power. And his eyes, which were originally full of crazy, actually restored a bright light. He looked at Lin Chen, his lips slightly twitching, as if he wanted to say something. Lin Chen understood his lips. Those two words are, "Thank you." Afterwards, the entire virtual channel collapsed in the dramatic white light. Lin Chen only felt that the darkness in front of him and lost all his knowledge. When Lin Chen opened his eyes again, the dazzling white light had disappeared, replaced by the familiar starry sky dome made of crystal on the top of the magician's tower. The heavy and gentle magical elements surround the tip of his nose, making his brain that was hurting because of his soul's impact feel much more comfortable. He sat up and looked around. The viewing star room is in a mess. The exquisite and incomparable astrology was covered with spider net-like cracks because of the backlash of energy. Master Malin sat on the ground with a pale face, gasping heavily, obviously because of excessive overdrawing of magic. And Evelyn fainted on the ground, unconscious. Shu was lying far away. His condition was not much better than him, but he was already recovering while drinking the medicine silently. Yi Lu and his breakthrough guild are the most desirable in the next round. Except for Yi Lu, who was only in a sluggish state because he drank the enemy-free medicine water, only 7 or 8 of the 19 elite masters he brought were left to stand. The others were affected at the last moment when the space collapsed and were sent back to the main city to resurrect, and were very depressed. The few people who survived were all filled with the shock after the disaster and a difficult and unbelievable aura on their faces. They actually came back alive from that kind of ruined world. We succeeded? Yi Lian's voice was a little sad. He looked at Lin Chen, his eyes full of inquiries. Lin Chen did not answer immediately. He first opened his mission panel. Historical Strong World Mission Chain. The contract of the title of the void has been completed. You have successfully used the power of the Deep Purity Core to cut off the connection between the soul of Kaiwan and the Old Master and make him establish a new contract. A crisis that can destroy the vast majority is temporarily strangled in the bud. Task Contribution Assessment, Core Planner, Key Performer. Comprehensive Review, SSS Level. Get Experience Value, 50,000 points. Congratulations. Your level is upgraded to LV8. Congratulations. Your level is upgraded to LV9. Your specialty named the Leader of Fate has been strengthened, and now you can tamper with the descriptions and rewards of lower-level tasks to a limited extent. You have won a special prize, the renowned skill book Soul Chain. Spiritual Link, lecture. You can establish links to a soul-level link with a self-dedicated goal. During the link period, you can share some of your vision and be able to withstand some of the damage suffered by the other party. This skill has no cold time, but only one target can be linked at the same time. Looking at these strings of rewards that were so thick that it was extremely thick, Lin Chen felt a sense of ecstasy. Upgrade to 2 levels. I also got a skill book about the level of communication that I had never heard of. That new ability to tamper with tasks gives him a useless operation space, which is simply the youth version of GM's authority. This luxury game, he won. Yes, we succeeded. Lin Chen stood up and showed a tired but creepy smile to Yi Lian and all the survivors. Qian's soul is saved. And we have also stopped a catastrophe. As he finished speaking, Master Malin finally breathed a sigh of relief. He stood up tall and walked to the unconscious Evelyn, stretched out his hand, and a gentle healing light covered her. Evelyn's long eyelashes moved a little, and her eyes were slowly opened. Teacher, Qian. The first sentence she said after waking up was about her younger brother. He is saved, child. Merlin's voice brought a sense of relief and fatigue. Although he was deprived of a new and stronger purity, his soul also needs a long time to purify and recover, but at least he has found himself. As he said, he turned his eyes to Lin Chen, his eyes full of gratitude and admiration. Lin Chen, you are not only the hero of the city of origin, but also the benefactor of our entire magician Gyoda. I, Merlin, promise you in the name of the Chief Master. From now on, the magician Gyoda will be your most realistic ally. All the magical scripts in the tower will be open to you. All the magical rooms are used by you. All the enchantment craftsmen will listen to you. System tips, your reputation for operating in the magic tower has been raised to worship. System tip, you have won the title Friends of the Tower. The weight of this promise is more important than Mount Tai. This means that Lin Chen almost has the right to adjust the strongest magic power in the entire mainland. Yi Lian heard, his eyes straightened. He worked hard to do tasks and donate supplies to the NPC, so he finally got the respect of his voice. Lin Chen only took less than a day to directly reach the worship at the top. How can the gap between people be so big? But he is not in vain. Soon, Merlin also looked at him and his men. And you, brave adventurers. Merlin's words were gentler. Your courage was also respected by the magician. We will give you the name of Tower of the Tower and apply to the Lord's house to give you the highest award. In addition, he decided to do it, to compensate for your losses. The tower's warehouse will provide each of you with a selected historical equipment. A self-selected historical equipment. Yi Lu and his men instantly forgot about the terror and the loss of death, and showed an expression of ecstasy on their faces. This trip was so worth it. Not only did they make a sound and get the money, but they could also get a top-grade purple dress. This wave is nothing, it's bloody. Yi Lian's eyes looked at Lin Chen became even more complicated. He found that even though he was surprised and exciting with this NPC, the benefits he could get were something he never dared to think about before. Or maybe, it would be a better choice to turn to him. Just as everyone was counting on their own to collect, Zhu walked to Lin Chen silently. This is for you. He sent a skill book that also emitted orange light to Lin Chen. Obviously, this is also one of his prizes after completing his mission. Shadow Step, translation level. The core displacement skill of Shadow Blade Digger can be instantly transmitted to the designated shadow area, and within the next 3 seconds, the next attack will inevitably be hit. This is an assassin's magical skill. Lin Chen was stunned for a moment and shook his head. This is your reward, I can't ask for it. You saved me. Yu's answer was still simple, but his attitude was quite certain. Without you, I've died in the boss room. This is my favor. Lin Chen looked at his unquestionable eyes and looked at the soul chain he had just obtained, and felt aroused in his heart and stopped recommending it. He took over Shadow Step and then sent the skill book Soul Chain to Soul. So that's the case, then this is my gift to my new allies. Zhang took the skill book in confusion. When he saw the skill description, a clear movement appeared for the first time on the iceberg face that had not changed for many years. Sheer vision, divide damage. He knows the strategic value of this skill better than anyone else. This means that between him and Lin Chen, an unbreakable elves that surpass ordinary teammates. He didn't say anything more, he just silently learned his skills. Lin Chen also smiled and learned Shadow Step at the same time. Although he is not an assassin, this top-level displacement skill is also a life-saving skill for him, the warfield commander who needs to move vigorously. At this point, this amazing trip to the Magician's Tower was always a full sentence. Under Evelyn's personal lead, Yi Lian and others went to the warehouse to choose the equipment. And Lin Chen was left alone by Mei Lin. Lin Chen, Mei Lin's expression became solemn again. Although we solved Kaiwen's problem at a time, the matter has not ended yet. You should feel that the virus source in the core has not been completely eliminated by the Spring of Saint White, but has been temporarily suppressed and sealed. Lin Chen pointed, yes, I can feel that it is still ready to move. It is waiting for a time to let it hatch and descend to this world. Merlin's eyes flashed with a slight worry, and Kevin's soul is now its new host. Although we have the power to take the initiative at a time, it seems like a more unstable bomb is placed beside us. What does the master mean? I need time, Merlin said in a deep voice. I need to spend a lot of time and energy studying the core structure and finding ways to clean it up. And at this time, I need you to help me do one thing. One thing, that only you can do with this variable. He walked to the window of the star room and pointed far away. In the far west, the barren land called the Dragon Bone Desert is located in an ancient Titan temple. According to the oldest classics of the tower, there is a Titan creation called the Staff of Order. That may be the only key in this world that can completely destroy the deep core. But, Merlin turned, that temple has been forgotten for thousands of years, protected by powerful magical storms and fierce ancient creatures. More importantly, it is blocked by a law from the original origin of the world, and we indigenous NPCs cannot get close to it. Only you, which is not part of this world, will have the opportunity to step into that forbidden land. The final development of the historical and stable world mission chain, the end of order. Mission target, go to the Dragon Bone Desert in the West Mainland, find the described Titan Temple, and obtain the artifact Staff of Order. Looking at the task prompt in front of him, Lin Chen's heart jumped up uncontrollably. Final ring. Artifact. Titan Temple. He knew that what he was about to set foot on was the most core and grand historical adventure of the legend of the Confucian Yuan. This will be a road full of unknowns and dangers, but as far as the road is, it is enough to rewrite the fate of the entire game world. I understand. Lin Chen took a deep breath, his eyes unsatisfied. Leave this to me. After taking the final mission of going to the West Mainland to find the Staff of Order from Mei Lin, Lin Chen did not move immediately. He knew that this would be a long-lasting, far-reaching struggle, promoting development without any discrimination. He needs time to make sufficient preparations, integrate his existing resources, and improve his strength to a new level. The first thing he did was to deal with the Line of Leaf and the Breakdown Guild. In the room of the Magician Tower, he met Yi Lin alone. At this moment, Yi Lin's attitude had undergone a major change of 180 degrees. He no longer had the arrogance and calculations he had when he first saw him. Instead, he brought a few lower-level faces to the superior respect and restraint. Lin Chen, sir, are you looking for me? Long Yi, don't be so polite, just sit down. Lin Chen pointed to the chair opposite and poured him a cup of fruit tea made by the spirits. This movement made Yi Lian feel a little shocked and hurriedly bowed and sat down. This trip to the Void Road has more help from you and the Pokémon. Lin Chen opened his door to see Shandy and said, although you are very worried, your courage has won the recognition of the magician Gyota and me. I dare not act. It is a blessing for us adventurers to contribute to the protection of the major impact. Yi Lian was talking on the scene, his heart was still beating, and he didn't know what medicine Lin Chen sold in his gourd. Next, I will accept a more thunderous mission and need to go to the far west mainland. Lin Chen's eyes looked at Yi Lian. For the journey, I need a strong and reliable ally. The Breaking Guild is currently the strongest player group in East Mainland. So, I want to hear your thoughts. This is pulling out the olive branches. Yi Lian's heart leaped suddenly, and he knew that this was the key moment to decide the future direction of himself and the guild. He was silent for a moment, and did not respond immediately, but instead asked, My Lord Lin Chen, please be honest. Who are you? Everything you did is far beyond our understanding of an NPC. If you don't tell me honestly, it's hard for us to bet the entire guild's fate on you. This is a very famous and realistic problem. Yi Lian is ultimately a hero. He cannot surrender to others without understanding. Lin Chen smiled, as if he had expected him to ask this. Who am I? It doesn't matter, he said. What matters is, what can I bring to you? The goal of Yi, your goal is to be the strongest guild in the Celestial Yuan, or even the only overlord, right? Yi Zhao's pupils shrank slightly, without denying it. To realize this goal, relying on a large number of people and money is far away. Lin Chen's words were filled with confidence. What do you need? It is a unique mission line, a top-notch equipment that others cannot get, and a plot guide that is enough to affect the direction of the server. And I can give you all this. He put it on and threw out a bombshell. I can assure you that the Breaking Coke will do my best to help me complete the fair in the West Mainland. When I come, I will use my dual identities of Friends of the Tower and Friends of the City Lord to promote the initial city and build the first autonomous leader led by the player. And the leader of this autonomy is you, Yi Wang. Player autonomous leader. These 5 words were like a shocking thunder, slashing hard on Yi Lin's brain. He stood up from his chair, his face filled with unbelievable shock. Build your own city-state in the game, have your own territory, taxes, and even troops. This is the ultimate dream of all guild presidents. It is also a gameplay that mentioned in the official promotion of Skyku Yuan that can only be opened in the later stage of the game. Now, Lin Chen actually promised that he could realize this dream in advance. This confusion is too great. Big enough to make Yi Lang catch everything. Okay. Yi Lu's breathing became rapid. He slapped the table heavily, and a raging fire of ambition ignited in his eyes. Mr. Lin Chen. From today on, I Yi Lu and the entire Breaking Shao Guild behind me will be yourselves. We will definitely follow the trip to the West Mainland, no matter how many swords and seas of fire, we will definitely follow it to the end. Very good. Lin Chen gave a bit of the head with satisfaction. He knew that he had successfully put the fiercest lion on his war car. After getting Lin Chen's next goal is naturally. When he found the sure, he was practicing his new skills over and over again in the training grounds of the tower. He was not surprised by Lin Chen's arrival, but just stopped his movements and looked at him calmly. I'm going to the West Mainland, Lin Chen said. I'll go with you. The answer was not hesitant. It may take a long time to go this time, and it is extremely dangerous. I know. You don't ask why I'm going? What you do is your reason for. There is nothing more than yours. I just need to follow you, fight, and then become stronger, and it's all. This kind of unconditional trust made Lin Chen feel warm. He smiled, took out the handheld skill book Shadow Step that he had never used, and passed it over. This thing is still the original owner of the object. It can exert 100 times larger than in my hands. Zhang was stunned for a moment, looked at the skill book, and then looked at Lin Chen, and finally took it. Although he didn't say thank you, Lin Chen could feel that the elves between them had deepened another layer. Lin Chen used Soul Chain to re-establish a link with Soul. He could feel that there seemed to be an invisible line between himself and the shoulder, and he could sense the other party's status and general direction at any time. I need you to help me do something during this period of time when I was about to set off, Lin Chen said. Say. Help me, train a team. Lin Chen's eyes flashed. A team that is absolutely loyal to me and has a top-notch fighting power. There is no need to be many people, 5 to 10 people will be enough. Team members, you can choose from yourself. He knew that although the Poisoning Guild was powerful, it was ultimately Yi Wang's man. He must have a direct force that belongs entirely to himself, capable of performing any secret mission at the critical moment. And is undoubtedly the most perfect instructor and team leader in this team. Let's look at Lin Chen, silent for a moment, and there were a few points. After everything was arranged, Lin Chen did not rush to leave the Magician Tower. He used the authority of Friends of the Tower given by Merlin to plunge into the vast library of the tower's smoke. He is like a crazy sea, absorbing knowledge about this world day and night. From the geographical history of the mainland to the grievances and hatreds among various races, from the basic theory of elements to the taboo soul magic, from the ancient Titan myths to the origin of the purity. The more books he read, the more shocked he became. He discovered that the worldview of the game The Legend of the Confucian Yuan was much more grand and complex than what he knew in his previous life. Behind many seemingly indifferent details, there are thousands of long connections hidden. There are even fewer records about Staff of Order and Titan Temple, and there are only a few vague descriptions in the oldest classics. When the world is in chaos, the remaining order will be reappeared in the dragon bones, and the messenger holding the staff will bring a new balance to the world. Lin Chen knew that he was the messenger. In addition to reading books, he also used the tower's Jingjin real estate experimental room to make a large number of rare materials he obtained from Kraken into various powerful drugs and Jingjin blasters. His bag has never been so fulfilled. Time passes by in such a tight and fulfilling preparation. Half a month later, Lin Chen walked out of the library, and the sun shone on him, giving him a feeling of being like a different world. Although his level has not been improved after the closing of this half-month, his wisdom attribute has greatly increased due to the enormous amount of knowledge. He felt that his understanding of this world had reached a completely new level. He came to the open space outside the tower. Yi Xian and his Breakshao Guild elite group have been waiting here for a long time. Their equipment is more sophisticated than half a month ago, and everyone has changed into historical equipment that has been replaced from the tower warehouse, with extraordinary enthusiasm. On the other side, they also stood quietly. Behind him, there were 5 equally taciturn players who were very quiet but had unusual eyes. They have different equipment, including warriors, scoundrels, and hunters, but each one has a cold and deadly breath that is extremely similar to. This is the first batch of core members selected by Lin Chen. Lin Chen's eyes swept over everyone, took a deep breath, and a burst of pride in his heart. He knew that his team in this world had been initially built. "Are you ready?" he asked loudly. You can come out anytime. Yi Lian answered in unison. Lin Chen clicked a little, and he looked back at the magic tower that was soaring into the clouds, and then raised his head to look at the sky far west. There will be where their next legend begins. Then, Lin Chen's mouth curled up a confident smile. Our journey is the Sea of Stars, not right, it is the Dragon Bone Desert. Depart.